All right, welcome everyone. Bienvenido a todos to the Mount Diablo Unified School District Governing Board meeting, April 14th, 2021. It is 6:04 p.m. and we're reconvening our open session. And we have a new translator here. Welcome, Yvette.
Thank you.
Could you explain to people how to find the interpretation button? Would that be okay?
Sí, para los que necesiten interpretación, hay un botón debajo que dice interpretación, donde pueden seleccionarlo y después seleccionar el lenguaje que gustan escuchar.
Muchas gracias y bienvenidos. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay, great. So I would like to open this meeting with a recognition of saying his name, Dante Wright, to acknowledge the pain and trauma this horrific recent incident brings to his family and also to many of our own students and staff. It reminds us of injustices near and far, including Miles Hall, who was killed right here in Walnut Creek. I wanted to mention that for educators, there is a post on learningforjustice.org that's called Don't Say Nothing. That helps to ensure students have space to reflect and process their feelings. I know as we've moved into the hybrid model that some parents have asked whether the afternoon time, whether it's in person or online, is just a study hall. I think this is an example of the kind of social emotional support that our educators can be providing to students during this time. I also want to just give a few thank yous before we get started. First to Austin Bridenthal, our Public Information Officer, who is moving on today to new and exciting career opportunities. Thank you, Austin, for your well-organized work and dedication to excellence and equity in MDUSD. We wish you the best in your new endeavors, and you will be greatly missed. And also welcome to our new interpreter, Yvette Machado. As well as thank you to our ongoing interpreters, Rossi Franklin and Mariana Benson. And thank you as always to Mario Hernandez, our technician, for ensuring these meetings run smoothly. Thank you so much. All right, with that, I would like to open with the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call. I don't know which way to face here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we'll go to roll call. Vice President Mason.
Here.
Trustee Mayo.
Here.
Trustee Nzewi.
Here.
Trustee McFerrin.
Here.
And Trustee Alas.
Here.
And I am also present, so we are all here. Thank you so much. So next we have 5.2, the review and potential approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda or do we have a motion to approve?
I would make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion from Vice President Mason, second from Trustee Mayo. We'll take that to a vote. Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee Alas?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you so much. All right. So moving on to 6.0, this is the report out from our closed session. 6.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to EERA Government Code Section 3549.1. Agency negotiators Dr. Adam Clark, Dr. John Rubio, Dr. Lisa Gonzalez, Dr. Wendy Aguili, Jennifer Sachs, Dr. Dan Scudero, Cesar Alvarado, and Mike Berg. Agencies Medea, DMA, MDSPA, CSEA, CST Local 1, and Teamsters Local 856. We received information and provided direction. Item 6.2, there was no case, no action or information provided. With that, we will move on to item 7.0, public comment. And Ms. Juranek, how many public commenters do we have at this point?
We had about 9 individuals who pre-registered. For those of you who are in attendance, we would prefer you to raise your hand and I can let you in one by one and call on you from there.
Very good, thank you. So then we can continue with our usual, the 3 minutes. For public comment, the public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. So we'll continue with the 3-minute amount, and I'll let Ms. Juranek take it from here as far as managing the public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first speaker will be Noel Fruchtenach, followed by Angela Beaver and Cora Mitchell. First, Noel.
Yeah, very good job, Laura. That was almost exactly correct. Board, Superintendent Clark, the original agenda tonight had no mention of reopening. How is that possible? Why are critical items such as reopening, which every constituent in the district, teachers, district staff, students, parents, everybody has an interest in, no matter which side of that argument you're on, why is that relegated to the catch-all bucket of the superintendent's report? It's disgraceful. My original public comment a number of months ago was about this exact issue, and here we are again. Why does reopening keep getting pushed off the agenda? And who is actively working to keep this off the agenda? Because that didn't happen by accident, right? This is the most important topic the Board of Education should be working on. This is the most important topic the superintendent and his staff should be working on. So that did not get left off the agenda by accident or a mistake. Somebody purposefully did that, and we need to understand why. Secondly, there are a lot of nice and important resolutions from week to week. Tonight's is primarily around climate change, obviously an important topic, obviously one that needs to be discussed, obviously one that deserves a resolution. But why is there not a resolution declaring that school will be in full-time session 5 days per week starting in the fall? And yeah, I can already hear, well, we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. The county might say this, the state might say that. In the resolution, put all those excuses in it. But we as parents deserve a resolution stating that there will be full-time school in the fall, especially in light of the fact that we talk about many resolutions from week to week that the Board of Education really doesn't have any purview or power over. But returning to school in the fall is something the Board of Education controls. Thank you.
Ms. Juranek, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Cora Mitchell, followed by Angela Beaver and Patricia Hamachi.
Hello, my name is Cora Mitchell. I'm a mother of 2 children in this district, a kindergartner and a 2nd grader. I am calling to speak in regards to the reopening plans, but from the opposite perspective. I am a family that is going to have to stay in distance learning until a vaccine is available for my children. And I have to say that this transition back to hybrid hasn't exactly been smooth, but we've been willing to sort of go with the flow for the betterment of community. But I'm starting to hear rumors about the plan for next year with the distance learners is to put them in a separate distance learning academy. And that is not okay with me. Part of the reason why we have stuck with distance learning for this long is because of the sense of community that we feel at our home school. It's something that I personally have put a lot of effort into with our PTA and volunteering in classrooms, and we really feel connected with the community there. And the thought of that being removed from my children because we have complicated health issues that don't permit us to come back before a vaccine is available, there's really no reason for me to remain in the district. Distance learning is not easy for us. My son in particular is really behind, and it's been very detrimental to him to remain in this type of learning environment, but going back isn't a choice for us. So homeschooling and the flexibility that that would offer to my family is something that would probably provide more benefit to him. But again, we've stayed out of sense of community and wanting to sort of make it through this storm with everybody shoulder to shoulder. And I can only ask my kids to endure that for so long. And so I really would like to start hearing about if that is in fact the case, that next year we will be relegated to our own separate learning pod that is removed from our school site, because if so, I will need to make alternative plans. And I hate to put pressure on, because I know that this has been really hard for you all, and you've been getting a lot of push about the reopening for in-person, and I really don't want to add to that stress for you, but I just have to be honest about how challenging this has been for the distance learning families as well. And again, we've, this new hybrid plan has made things harder for my family, and we're still here and we want to still be here. But if we're going to be removed from that sense of community that we currently have, I just don't really see what benefit there is for my family to remain in the district any longer. So I'm hoping that somebody can clear that up for me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Angela Beaver, followed by Patricia Hamachi and Carmen Torones Torres.
Thank you. Good evening, Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education. My name is Angela Beaver. I'm an English partner dual language teacher who happens to be monolingual. I feel it necessary to inform you that under your care, you have one very unique elementary school in Bay Point, Shore Acres Elementary. We are a dual language school in the Bay Point, Pittsburgh area, and we're proud to provide 50-50 additive partner teacher dual language learning experience for the Mount Diablo Unified School families throughout Bay Point and Pittsburgh. And please be advised that this program is in danger of being dismantled due to a decrease in Shore Acres FTE for the upcoming 2021-2022 school year. The same cohort of students was in danger of losing their partner teacher dual language program going into third grade at the beginning of the school year. Again, we ask that the board please take into account this valuable dual language program. The following are my points of concern. Our first cohort of partner teacher dual language class will be moving up to fourth grade next school year, but with the decrease in FTE, this cohort of students will not have the option of a partner teacher dual language class in fourth grade. This third grade cohort signed up for this program in kindergarten with the intent of continuing the program through fifth grade, and we'd like to honor this commitment to our families. The Partner Teacher Dual Language Program is the only bilingual program that provides equal emphasis on teaching all language skills in both the primary and second language. Eliminating the Partner Teacher Dual Language Program for our incoming fourth grade cohort essentially changes this culturally and linguistically rich program into a subtractive program, placing greater emphasis on English and discounting the 4 years of effort in building this program. And according to Biliteracy from the Start, Literacy Squared in Action, in a departure from the traditional early to late exit traditional bilingual programs and in keeping with a paired literacy approach, children never transition out of Spanish literacy instruction in our framework. Instead, Spanish-English paired literacy instruction is maintained through fifth grade. How can we honor the integrity of our program without the FTE to maintain it? Please help us honor the Partner Teacher Dual Language Program commitment that we have built with our Shore Acres community. Please approve the need for the Shore Acres FTE to remain the same for the 2021-22 school year. This really is a matter of urgency. I appreciate your time and effort the school board puts into protecting the programs that enrich our students' lives, and I look forward to hearing from you on the needs of the Shore Acres Dual Language Program. Thank you for your time, service, and consideration.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Patricia Hamachi, followed by Carmen Terrones Torres and Olivia Oberbrunner.
Hello, thank you everyone. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much to the school board for listening to our concerns. Like my colleague, Angela Bever, I'm here to speak on behalf of the Shore Acres Dual Immersion Dual Language Program. The reason that we're coming to speak to you tonight is because the FTE is currently scheduled to be reduced at our school. This will dismantle our program in 4th grade of students whose families have chosen for their students to have a dual language program from K through 5 so that they have the best opportunity to be successful in both languages, English and Spanish. We are a dual language school and we need the equitable funding and support to be able to continue this program and support our families in the choices they made for their students. This reduction of FTE will take away the opportunity for this cohort of students to be able to get the education that they deserve. If we dismantle, if we do not fund this FTE, that program will stop. And it might be a snowball effect for other years where our dual language program may not be able to continue, even though it is the best option for our students to have support and have not only bilingual skills that are grade level, but also biliteracy skills that are up to grade level. This is the program that will be most successful for them and their futures. But we need the funding and support to be able to continue this program. If we do not have the FTE back that we had this year, this program will not be able to continue how our families have chosen it to be for their students' future. And I would like to ask you to please consider to reevaluate the FTE that's been given to Shore Acres for the upcoming academic school year. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Carmen Terrones Torres, followed by Olivia Oberbrunner and Blanca Vega.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, Carmen, did you want to speak under public comment or under communications?
I have 13.2 and 13.4. I don't think it's related to my unit, so I think I'll just
no
skip
problem.
the communication.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, board members and Dr. Clark and Mount Diablo Unified School District community. My name is Carmen Terrones Torres. I am administrative secretary for the district. I want to bring, I'm going to be speaking about 13.2. I am very concerned because as a secretary, I have placed 2 purchase orders for about 20 laptops since October of last year. I've been trying to find out the status and it just goes on and on. Today I received 2 boxes of just the bags, no laptops. It's going to be almost a school year. I have interpreters, I have CWAs, we have nurses, we have counselors that don't have the equipment. I don't know what, I'm trying to understand a logic explanation of why we're going through this with the laptops. That's 13.2. And then the 13.4, the review of potential approval of the FCMAC study. I just want, I think there's one board member, Ms. Mayo, that probably remember that a couple of years ago, we had a FCMAC study in special ed and student services. And I just hope that the report that is sent to the board is not doctored like the other one was. And that's it for me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Olivia Oberbrunner, followed by Blanca Vega and Devin Jackson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I just want to say good evening to the board and Dr. Clark. And I wanted to second Noelle's comment. I do feel like reopening full-time should be #1 on our agenda and the most talked about agenda item. It's the most pressing and important issue in my opinion. I personally have been fighting to get our schools open for months and months and months. I'm sure you guys have heard me speak here before at these meetings, but I do have to say, my son returning to school, he only got to go back 1 day before spring break, but the look on his face and just the glimmer of hope I saw, and he had a pep in his step, and it was amazing, and it was worth every hour of fighting that I've done over the months to help get schools open. I do think that 5 hours a week is not enough. It's actually pretty ridiculous amount of time. It's just not enough. But I do understand we have to ease back in, and I am happy to get feet on the ground. I know there's only 6 weeks left of school, so I'm okay staying with it. My fight is for the fall. We need a 5-day full-time commitment, not just a statement that was released, but we need a vote. We need some sort of concrete decision that you guys will be opening up full-time for fall. I know dozens actually of families that have signed their kids up for private school. Some have already taken out loans in preparation, waiting on your guys' vote. So if you can't commit to 100% full-time reopening, please just let us know. We need to do what's best for our children. My kids cannot survive another year on Zoom. And I know at private school, as much as my family really cannot afford it, we will be putting them there to get an in-person education that they deserve. So please, I urge you, please vote on a 5-day full-time opening for fall. And if you can't do that, and if it is wishy-washy, please let us loose. There's many families that would be so sad to leave, but would just have to do what's best for their children. So I just urge you to do that. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Blanca Vega, followed by Devin Jackson and Debbie Hickey.
Good evening, dear members of the board. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Blanca Vega, and I'm currently a 2nd grade dual language teacher for Shore Acres Elementary. I have many emotions right now, and I apologize if I tremble, but I've spoken before many times, advocating for my school that is my home and my family. As much as my coworkers, I dearly appreciate them. And I'm here tonight to speak about the FTE problem that we're having with this wonderful program that we've worked so hard for so many years. I've seen students pass through our gates and our classrooms, and being bilingual, it is a superpower that we can give them. And getting rid of this program will represent their dreams and many of their goals in their lives to not be able to come to completion, as much as we want help for them to make them bilingual. Being bilingual is their superpower. Having 2 teachers is their luxury. And our school may have already many needs, like a PTA or a program for the gifted or talented, and many other things. But I am urging you tonight to allow us to keep the very exemplary teachers that we currently have in our team, that losing any of them will really damage for years to come. And above on top of everything that we've lost with this pandemic, we cannot allow this. Our students' resources to be gone for them, and this program that brings myriad of resources and benefits for them for their life long term. The Partner Teacher Dual Language Program is the only bilingual program that provides equal emphasis on teaching all language skills in both the primary and second language. Please notice that our Partner Teacher Dual Language Program strives to create a more equitable learning environment for our students. This will be my plea tonight to you, and I thank you for your service and for your care and your time and consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Devin Jackson, followed by Debbie Hickey, and last, Jill Walson.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much. My name is Devin Jackson, and I did raise my hand because I wanted to do a public comment in the fact if I could not speak on what I'd like to speak on, which is 9.2, which is the review and potential approval of the Resolution 2021-61, the call to action on climate change. And so would you prefer me speak about my information now, or can I speak during 9.2?
I think the best thing is for you to speak now. We've been combining all the public comment into one during the Zoom sessions that we have.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and speak on 9.2. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, MDUSD board members, board president Cound, Superintendent Clark, and members of the MDUSD community. Thank you for having me here tonight and permitting me to speak. First, I would like to express my gigantic thank you for drafting this resolution 9.2 and incorporating new language about outdoor classrooms into the climate change resolution. And I found on the resolution the creation of the ecological schoolyards that enrich traditional lessons in every discipline with hands-on learning resources and living systems whenever possible, and doing outdoor learning. I am a middle school STEM teacher, environmental sustainability coordinator, certified climate change educator, and
No, I can't. I need my phone to read something.
and an educator with the National Geographic Explorers, NASA Globe Educator, NOAA Ocean Guardian Educator, Environmental Education Vice President of an environmental education nonprofit called Outside the Box 925. I wrote a thesis on place-based education and outdoor learning. And my thesis was on the value of supplementing science education with outdoor instruction for 6th grade students and all students. And I tried to improve the levels of engagement and environmental content knowledge retention would increase if students learned any K through 12 content and skills in an outdoor schoolyard environment rather than a traditional indoor science classroom. Teaching about the natural world during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond in the classroom, only in the classroom, has limitations even when supplemented with indoor lessons. Students have different learning styles, and didactic education alone is not effective for students who learn by doing. Complex concepts presented only in an informational manner in the classroom due to safety protocols and procedures can be hard for students to grasp. Students may memorize terminology and learn isolated facts, but not gain an understanding of how the natural world works or be motivated to learn more about K through 12 academic, social, emotional, and equity-based concepts in school, skills in school. Moreover, in science, math, and ELA, where there is a progression of knowledge and skills and learning builds on previous learning, it is critical that students gain an understanding of concepts and skills rather than memorize facts. These realities represent a strong case for using a combined classroom and outdoor education approach, or simply just an outdoor education classroom to teach students about K through 12 concepts and skills. There is a growing body of evidence that a combination of classroom and outdoor instruction is more effective than classroom education alone in improving student performance, particularly in science education and other content areas.
Excuse the interruption. You do
Yes.
have 10 seconds left.
Thank you. Looking back into history, most learning occurred outside the classroom. For example, students were learning on a boat in New York Harbor during the 1912 Spanish flu pandemic, and we can do it today. So I'm going to end there. I have more to say, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Debbie Hickey, followed by Jill Walson.
Hi, my name is Debbie Hickey, and I am the office manager at Mount Diablo High School. I'm calling actually in regards to 13.4, I'm a little concerned with the fact that this FICMAT for M&O is hidden in your consent agenda. For the past 2 years, we have heard nothing but how we are in, that we're not going to make our fiscal commitments to our district and how we're having to take out loans, but you're allowing a $36,000 FICMAT in a department that could be looked at through our district or through the county. Understanding that the county is still looking at our fiscal department. So why is that something that we can't do? My other concern is that we have members for CST that are in that unit, and my gut feeling is that this unit is about to be dissolved due to this FICMAT. But you still have, you're paying all these wonderful managers and chiefs all this big bucks, but you haven't paid anything to the small CST members. And so that really upsets me. So I'm hoping that you will consider this, take it out of the consent agenda, start looking at it a little bit differently, and consider maybe saving that money and getting someone else to look into that department. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Our last comment for the evening will be Jill Walson.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, MDUSD board members and Dr. Clark. I have to agree 100% that this reopening of our campuses full-time should be the only thing on our agenda. It should be on our agenda as an action item, but also the only thing that we're talking about. As elected officials, you as the board are in a position to represent our voice. A school board member is supposed to be a champion of the community. We as parents are frustrated. Our hands feel tied at times, even though we're trying to communicate what our children need. Things are moving too slow. It's been over a year and our children can just now go on campus for 4 to 5 hours a week, yet not be taught new curriculum. This is not enough from a parent's perspective, and how are you okay with it? We understand it's complicated with the unions. We realize that logistics are an absolute nightmare, but to settle on this very modified hybrid that was presented in the fall of 2020, just because it does not interrupt most of distance learning, does not mean that's what's best for our children's education. I was the first to sign my children up for the modified hybrid because they thrive in social settings and need to see their teachers. We took what we could, but that does not mean our children do not need more. This is the first year of middle school for my son and the last year of middle school for my daughter. They want to be around their peers. They need to engage with their teachers. This modified hybrid schedule spreads the teachers thin, and my children actually have less direct instruction time now. To adopt something that was proposed in the fall because it lines up with the MOU guidelines with the union is not necessarily best for my children. If you're okay with 4 to 5 hours in the spring, then is 10 to 15 hours going to be sufficient for you in the fall? This is our concern as parents. Trust has been lost on so many levels. What loopholes are going to be found, not planned for, and then applied that keep our children home in the fall? We're hearing that if 3 feet is still a guideline, that schools will maybe only open for half days, 5 days, but only half days. That's not enough. We're hearing, we have already settled for less this spring. Let's not find ourselves in that same situation for the fall. Being complacent since the current schedule appears less disruptive is not in our children's best interest. And if you ask most of our teachers, they're not liking this schedule either. I know many would go back 5 full days and definitely in the fall. I greatly appreciate your consideration, communication, and I thank the teachers and principals from the bottom of my heart for all that they're doing for our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And with that, that will conclude our public comment section.
Thank you very much, Ms. Juranek, and thank you to all who spoke today. It's always good to hear from our public and our teachers and our staff. Much appreciated. We'll move on to 8.0 communications. 8.1 is district organizations. At regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. Do we have any speakers under district organization?
I have not been notified that we would have any speakers. We did have two short statements that have been attached to the agenda.
Okay, should we read those statements aloud then? I don't have that in front of me.
Certainly, we can do that.
I don't believe so. So the attachments are on the agenda where the public can see them, that's correct?
Yes, they are
Okay.
on the agenda under the item 8.1.
Okay, I think that's fine then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so moving on to 9.0 recognitions and resolutions. 9.1 review and potential approval of resolution 2021-60 in recognition of California Adult Education Week, April 18th to 24th, 2021. Dr. Clark.
Great, thank you so much. And I announced at a previous meeting that our adult ed had gone through a very rigorous accreditation process and passed with flying colors. So I do want to again give a shout out to our adult education program. But today I'm here to present this resolution for potential approval. And this is resolution number 20/21-60, California Adult Education Week, April 18th through April 24th. And I'll just do as I do with all resolutions. I'll read the opening paragraph and the closing paragraph, and then I'll turn it over to the board. So whereas from April 18th through April 24th, the state of California will observe Adult Education Week, recognizing the unique accomplishments of California adult schools, and the California State Senate acknowledges that K-12 adult schools offer quality programs meeting ever-changing economic, workforce, and lifelong learning needs for our diverse state. And so, whereas Mount Diablo Adult Education is a diverse place of learning for students, safe from discrimination or bullying, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. And now, therefore, the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District hereby proclaims April 18th through the 24th as Adult Education Week and salutes the teachers, administrators, classified staff, and students of adult education programs statewide, honoring their efforts, persistence, and accomplishments. So, President Cound, it is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you so much, Dr. Clark. And I know that our former trustee, Joanne Durkee, continues to advocate for adult education throughout the state, and they're finding success in that as well. So thank you. Do we have a motion on this item?
Yes, I will channel Trustee Durkee and move for the approval of resolution 20/21-60 in recognition of California Adult Education Week, which will be April 18th through the 24th, 2021. Second.
All right. Thank you, Vice President Mason, for the motion, and second by Trustee Mayo. Is there any discussion? Trustee McFerrin.
Yes. Well, I'm fully in support of this resolution. I just want to bring up a concern that I have about one line, and it reads, whereas adult schools provide critical opportunities to bring recent dropouts back to school. And I just wanted to bring this up because I volunteered in adult literacy. I spent 4 years working for students at an alternative high school. I taught ESL at adult ed, and just the term dropout to me seems kind of unnecessarily pejorative and judgmental. Sometimes I hear the push out rate instead of the dropout rate, which I do think is a more accurate term. I don't think we necessarily need to include it in our resolution, but I'm really in favor of just especially because I think dropouts is an equity issue. I think it really is more the result of students being underserved than individual choices. And so I'm really kind of in favor of maybe changing that language to whereas adult schools provide critical opportunities to bring people who are unable to earn a high school diploma back to school. And that's one change that I would like to see if we can.
Is that an amendment to the motion?
Yes.
Right.
I'll second the amendment.
Thank you, Trustee McFerrin, for the amendment to the motion. And thank you, Trustee Mayo, for the second. All right, any other discussion? Okay, with that, we will take it.
Me,
Oh,
wait,
go
can you
ahead,
see
Trustee
me?
Anzari. Sorry, too many screens. Go ahead.
I know, it's okay. Thank you, Trustee McFerrin, for that catch and that change. That's a good learning moment for us all, and I really appreciate that. And I learned so much about MDUSD Adult School from Trustee Durkee too, so I'm so appreciative for that. And I just wanted to share that in my own adult life, though not at MDUSD, I've taken piano, French, and volleyball at my local adult school. I've not yet had the chance to take a community class here, but I'm always eyeing the wine tasting. Now those are for the communities, but we have, our adult school does so much more as this resolution lays out. And it really makes me proud. As a childcare advocate, I love the connection and partnership our adult school has built in providing English classes for parents while simultaneously offering learning and care for their children. And then the fact that those same adult English learners can go to DVC and receive an ECE education, early childhood education, to enter the childcare and early learning workforce. So I appreciate that over the decades that our school district has chosen to find value and invest and maintain our adult school program. So I'm eager to support this resolution.
Thank you so much, Trustee Nzeri. Yes, I think that's so true. The family literacy centers, the idea of having that housed on the elementary school campus where families can engage with their younger children while their older children are just beginning elementary school. It's just a fantastic model that makes so much sense. So appreciative that we have it. All right, any other discussion? Okay, we will take this to a vote. We'll begin with Trustee Alas.
So what are we voting on first? We should vote on the amendment first and then the resolution as a whole if the amendment is adopted.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Mayo. I was thinking we were going to vote on the motion with the amendment included, but we can do both just for clarity's purpose. I think that makes sense. So first, let's vote on the amendment. All right, so we'll begin with Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Vice President Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Motion passes with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you so much. 5-0. All right, and now we'll vote on the resolution as a whole, including that amendment. Okay, so beginning with Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Vice President Mason.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin. I think you're muted. Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Okay, Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
And Trustee Nzeri.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you, everyone, for that wonderful resolution. All right, moving on to item 9.2, review and potential approval of resolution 2021-61, a call to action on climate change in recognition of Earth Day. And I want to also welcome Lainey Klein-King here as well, who's a garden educator. And I think, did you say assistant program manager of our garden outdoor education program in Mount Diablo Unified. And want to thank you for your assistance in crafting the resolution today. So let me turn it over first to Dr. Clark.
Great, and as I've stated, I read the opening and ending of the resolutions, but I think someone may be catching on to me because the opening paragraph is quite lengthy. So, so let me please present a call to action on climate change in recognition of Earth Day, and that's resolution 20/21-61. So I didn't bring my glasses, but I'll get through this. So as we traverse our wondrous earth, admiring its abundance, appreciating its provision, seeing its diversity of life, witnessing the mystery of the starry heavens above, and hearing whispered echoes of eternity in the timeless cycles that surround us, recognizing herein that the present day has afforded us, humanity, a unique ability among all creatures to look ahead, to prepare for the future, and to preserve life, seeing now plainly the dire threat to this all that is climate change. We believe that the people and leaders of the world, and we the people of the United States of America, with great responsibility to fellow countries, mankind, and future generations derived from our present power and scope of influence, can and must seize every opportunity to act and advocate for actions and policies leading to climate restoration and the sustainability of our planet for generations to come. And be it further resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education calls on all elected leaders to take expedient and bold action on climate change to protect and preserve current and future generations. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education directs the district clerk to transmit executed copies of this resolution to the Superintendent of County Schools, the State Superintendent of Education, and the California State Board of Education, the Congressional Climate Solutions Caucus, and the California State School Board Association, the National School Board Association, our state and national representatives in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., and the Schools for Climate Action campaign. With that, I put it in the hands of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Clark, for your excellent reading there. Much appreciated. All right, trustees, do we have a motion?
I move to pass resolution, let's see if I can pull it up again. Resolution 20/21-61, a call to action on climate change in recognition of Earth Day.
I'll second that as a hippie from the 70s, which we didn't do such a great job. We started it, but didn't finish it.
All right, thank you. Motion by trustee Alas, second by trustee Mason. Any discussion?
I would like to discuss one of the resolves, please.
Yes, trustee Mayo.
I would like some clarification in the final resolve regarding the transmission of the document to various agencies, because as I read the section that talks about transmission to California representatives, that number could be as few as 7 or as many as more than 150. So because that could be 80 assembly members, 40 senators, and at the federal level, 2 senators and 53 representatives. The only reason I ask this is because I have had to do this work as the California State PTA advocate at the federal level, and I know the detail that's required. It's important. I do value the resolution, and I think it's important that we distribute the information. In my experience, without a personally addressed cover letter with the resolution, it will end up in a round file. So I would hope that the individual that requested this to be placed on the agenda could advise us what the direction truly is.
That is a very good question, trustee Mayo, and I'm not actually sure where that section came from. I know that there was CSBA had a sample climate change resolution. I'm wondering if it came from that. Dr. Clark, would you like to respond?
Yeah, so what we'll do is that we will send the resolution to the representatives or to the clerk of that particular body and let them distribute it throughout. So that is how we will handle that, so that we're not sending out 200 personal emails.
Thank you, because even the emails, if you are trying to email a representative from an area not within their district, you can't accomplish it. Typically, the only way you can get it through is by the fax system. So anyway, thank you for the explanation. And if everyone's content with that, then I am also.
Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Much appreciated. I know your experience is important in these types of situations. Thank you, Dr. Clark. It sounds like a reasonable solution. All right. Any other discussion?
It's me
Trustee
again.
Nzeri.
Yeah. I wanted to just say way back in my college days, long time ago, I first learned about environmental racism when I researched and wrote a paper about a company called Chem Waste, which is the largest chemical waste plant in the United States west of the Mississippi, in my home county of Kings and in the city of Kettleman City, which is a place that many of you may stop through on the way to LA because it has lots of gas and drive-throughs. And in college, there was, right before I got to college, there was this huge movement in my community to stop chem waste. But like all of the chem wastes across the country, it's nearly impossible to stop them from being located in Black or brown communities. And Kettleman City, although it has a super small population, it's almost 100% Latino. And so now in our fight for climate change, we can't forget about its link to racial justice. Black and Latino and Indigenous communities are the most heavily impacted by catastrophic weather events. They suffer the most from bad air pollution, from water pollution, and so on. So by reaffirming our commitment to environmental justice, doing those things that we're able to do as listed in the resolution to impact climate change, we're taking one step towards upholding racial justice in our own community. So I look forward to approving this resolution.
Thank you so much, Trustee Nzeri. All right. Any other, oh, Trustee Alas, go ahead.
Well, I want to thank staff for bringing this resolution forward and whoever brought this resolution forward, because we need to recognize that it's not just climate change, it's a climate crisis, right? So we're seeing the recent storms in Texas, and as Trustee Nzui said, the power outages and the lack of food, that mainly hurt Black and brown communities. So we need to be taking actionable steps, and the resolution details some actionable steps that we can take in our classrooms and in our homes and in our communities. And particularly one of the ones that caught my eye was the emphasis on implementing comprehensive waste reduction, recycling, and compost programs at schools, including the encouragement of on-site composting and reduction of plastic usage. The reason why this is interesting is that up until last year, my high school, Northgate High School, had a bunch of compost receptacles. So we had trash cans, recycling, compost, the three bins, but we actually didn't have a large compost receptacle to then throw it out to. So then that went to the landfill. So us students were thinking, oh, we're composting. We're not actually composting. And up until last year, when we partnered with Recycle Smart, we were able to change that. So now we have compost, recycling, and a landfill. But I'm wondering how many schools out there, how many students think that they're doing a good job composting and they're separating their food, but they're not actually composting because we don't have a large compost receptacle. So I encourage you, if you're at your school site and you're wondering, am I actually composting? Once we get back in person, how can I do that to make sure you actually have a receptacle? And we're going through that three-pronged system of because that is the easiest thing we can be doing in our communities. So thank you for bringing this forward, Dr. Clark and district staff. And I encourage everyone to continue recycling and composting. So that's it for me.
All right. Thank you very much, Trustee Ellis. It's so important to have that student perspective to see what's really happening at our school sites. Much appreciated. All right. Any other discussion before a vote? All right, we'll move that to a vote then, and let's begin with Trustee Ellis.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. And we have a guest speaker here, as I said, Delaney Klein-King. And I wanted to recognize you for your initiative that you have taken to make sure that greenschoolyards.org resources are available and to all of our school sites and our principals. And I appreciate you coming here to be able to give a little bit of an update on how that project is going.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here tonight. I want to extend my deep gratitude to the board for incorporating new language into the climate change resolution. Most notably, the addition that each school campus is to become a living, working model of climate change education. We as a district are truly putting our climate change values into action. Incredible progress on outdoor learning has taken place over the last 2 months in concert with the National COVID-19 Outdoor Learning Initiative, co-founded by Green Schoolyards of America. Organizations like Green Schoolyards have worked for decades to create long-term plans with school districts to thoughtfully add green space to their schools in an effort to ensure all children have equitable access to nature. Their initiative launched the Emergency Schoolyard Design Volunteers program to help schools bring children safely back to in-person learning outside as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Being outdoors greatly reduces virus transmission rates, and it also works as a long-term strategy in support of the new sustainability efforts listed in this climate change resolution. Some of the recent successes that we've had with outdoor learning within MDUSD recently are that 3 of our schools have received outdoor learning site assessments from the professional landscape architects through the Emergency Schoolyard Design Volunteers program. These outdoor site assessments identify areas for outdoor learning, student capacity outside, and both existing and potential areas for shade. While they highlight no and low cost ways to get children learning outdoors, they also help sites dream big with aspects like outdoor maker spaces, amphitheaters, and nature play or STEM areas. Our facilities department is partnering closely with us on these efforts and has already followed up at Wren Avenue Elementary by preparing 2 sites identified as potential outdoor classrooms. 17 MDUSD principals have been connected to these emergency schoolyard design volunteers and are making steps towards renovating their outdoor spaces with seating and shade. Our facilities department has been coordinating with our fire marshal and the Department of State Architecture to problem solve short-term and permanent shade solutions. We are also closely monitoring federal funds, some of which are earmarked for these types of permanent outdoor infrastructure improvements. Our experienced landscape architect and educational facilities planning partners have been invaluable consultants and are willing to do master planning with our district to create ecological schoolyards for MDUSD. The MDUSD Education Foundation contributed a generous $12,000 grant to fund padded bucket seats and clipboards so classes at our Title I schools could take learning outside immediately. 7 of our Title I schools have already received a total of almost 700 bucket seats and clipboards, and students have been learning outside since day 1 of returning to hybrid. Activating outdoor learning addresses other district goals like equity, COVID safety, mental health, and community partnerships. It is safe, it is easy, and it is effective. There is a cross-disciplinary group currently working on resource sharing, including creative ideas, as well as nature-based resources like tree stump donations. So I will say that if anybody wants to help with these efforts or to join this group to gather information for their schools, to please feel free to reach out and contact me. Not sure how to get my contact information out there, but LanieKlein@gmail.com, and happy to include you in these resources and help your school out if you'd like to get planning for how to put some of these sustainability efforts in this resolution into effect on your campus. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lainey. Really, really appreciate all of your volunteerism and work on this effort, and all of the schools sites that have made this possible, as you said, hitting the ground on day 1. So that's really fantastic. Much appreciated. All right. Thank you so much. Moving on to our next resolution, item 9.3, review and potential approval of resolution 20-21-62 in recognition of Arab American Heritage Month.
Yes, so I'm very pleased to bring this resolution forward for consideration from the board. So this is resolution 20/21-62 in recognition of Arab American History Month. So I'll read the opening paragraphs and the ending. So whereas for over a century, Arab Americans have been making valuable contributions to virtually every aspect of American society, including medicine, law, business, technology, government, and culture. And whereas since migrating to the United States, men and women of Arab descent have shared their rich culture and traditions with neighbors and friends, while also setting fine examples of model citizens and public servants. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District celebrates the countless contributions that Arab Americans have made to American society in the state of California, recognizing and honoring the month of April 2021 to be Arab American Heritage Month. And be it further resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education hereby encourages staff to review the district's equity policy and review cultural literacy resources, and urges the district to observe Arab American Heritage Month with appropriate programs and activities that celebrate the contributions of Arab Americans to the United States. It is now in the hands of the board, President Count.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Trustees, do we have a motion on this resolution?
I move that we approve resolution 2021-62 in recognition of Arab American Heritage Month.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Motion by Trustee McFerrin, second by Trustee Mason. Any discussion? Trustee Ellis.
I would first like to start by saying Ramadan Kareem to all who celebrate in this holy month. Inshallah, that you have a prosperous and generous month. And I encourage everyone who does not practice to be mindful and conscientious of scheduling meetings and scheduling different responsibilities during this time, as the fast and the prayers happen throughout the day. So being conscious of any Muslim coworkers that you may have, any Muslim colleagues, friends, to make sure that you are respecting this holy month and being very, very conscious. But that is it from me. I am very happy that this resolution has been put forward, and I'm excited to vote yes.
Thank you, Trustee Ellis. Trustee Nzeri?
I'm so glad that we're pushing forward with all of these resolutions to bring awareness and hopefully action to so many important issues. And until earlier this year, I'd never heard of Arab American Heritage Month until MDUSD Parents for Multicultural Education sent us the most comprehensive list of cultural months I'd ever seen. And then even then I said to myself, I don't want to just do resolutions to do resolutions. I want there to be action, which we ask for in our resolution. But tonight after our meeting, I'll share on my social media the Arab American History Museum, which provides K-12 lesson plans and virtual tours of the museum. It's just a Google form that teachers have to fill out, or families, whoever. The museum is a Smithsonian affiliate, and it's located in Dearborn, Michigan, which is one of the largest concentration of Arab American communities in the United States. It's just outside of Detroit. It's the first and only museum in the United States dedicated to recording the Arab American experience, and the only museum dedicated to collecting Arab American art. It's only been open since 2005, even though, as mentioned in the, sort of mentioned in the resolution, Arab Americans began immigrating to the United States in the late 19th century. So I really encourage our district's educators and families to visit arabamericanmuseum.org to learn how you can request the curriculum for free and request a virtual tour.
Thank you, Trustee Nzeri. I also would like to say we have invited Ms. Maha Eleganedi to speak this evening after the vote. She is the founder of ing.org and who also has incredible resources for educators for cultural literacy and inclusion. And they were featured in the California Department of Education webinar that you can access on Facebook that was about, challenging Islamophobia in our schools. And they have incredible resources, so I'm really happy to have you here. And I also am really excited about this resolution. As a child, I actually grew up most of my life in Saudi Arabia. And when I moved to the United States, I was really surprised at the way the media generally treats Arab Americans in this country and the news. And so I think it is really important for all of us to educate ourselves on what the actual truths are about Arab Americans, many of them are Muslim and there are misunderstandings about Islam, but actually the Arab world is central to many religions, not even just Islam. And so there's so much to learn and so much to be aware of from our fellow students and our colleagues around the Arab world and their contributions and their presence here in the United States right now to correct so many misunderstandings that are out there. So really appreciate everyone who worked on this resolution to bring it forward and hope that it will continue year after year in our district here. All right, with that, any other comments? All right, we will take it to a vote. Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. And now I would like to open the floor to Ms. Maha Eleganedi.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I just want to begin by thanking the Unified School District governing body on their very first resolution that recognizes Arab American Heritage Month. What this does is it gives the residents of our community an opportunity to learn more about Arab Americans like myself, their long history in the United States and their many contributions to our lives today in really every aspect of society, as the resolution states. One of the issues concerning Arab Americans today is Islamophobia, because Arabs, which are an ethnic group, are often conflated with Muslims and Islam, when in fact, as someone pointed out, over 70% of Arab Americans in the US are actually Christian. They're not Muslim. Nevertheless, Arabs are often conflated with Islam and bear the brunt of one of the most harmful forms of bigotry, and why education about Islamophobia and how to teach against it becomes very important. I prepared a very brief presentation, a small segment of what I did with the Department of Education that I'll just share with you really quickly for the educators that are watching. Next slide. And this is usually the outline of the 1 hour presentation. It's actually 2 and 4 hours, depending on how much we cover in this program. But I wanted to show you essentially what it consists of. I'm just going to talk about little bits and pieces of it. So next slide. Next slide. I'm going to first define what Islamophobia is. And Islamophobia is really anti-Muslim racism. And the reason for that is religious groups such as Muslims and ethnic groups, regardless of their color of skin, have been racialized as Blacks, basically. And so that's why Islamophobia is now defined as anti-Muslim racism, even though Islam is a religious group, but it would really also apply to Arab Christians and other groups. And it usually portrays people and their culture as follows: monolithic and static, separate and other, inferior to the West, barbaric, violent, engaged in a clash of civilizations. And the last one, I think, is the most alarming of all as a political ideology. And what that does is it divorces us from the religious rights that we have in the First Amendment, of course. Next slide. And it's also become systemic racism in the way that it is reinforced in society, is particularly in education and what we choose to teach and not to teach about. So I grew up in the United States. I'm born in Egypt. I'm an immigrant. I came here in the late 60s. And my only understanding, of course, of Arab Americans and Islam was in the context of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict that is still going on. And of course, Arabs were portrayed in a very negative light and continued to be portrayed that way in relation to American foreign policy towards the Middle East. And so throughout the educational system, Arabs are usually portrayed in very negative light, and so are Muslims. But it's also found in literature, in how the media covers news about the Muslim world and the Arab world, how Muslims and Arabs are portrayed in Hollywood and video games, and then the campaigns that have been fueled by something called the Islamophobia industry, and then of course government policies as well. And so this is how it becomes systemic racism, where people are now conditioned to think about Arabs and to think about Muslims in a particular way. Next slide. The impact on Muslim students and their families is as follows. So next slide. Bullying is a huge problem of Muslim students, which would include Arab students. According to most recent surveys, 1 out of 2 Muslim families say their child has been bullied for their faith, compared to, which is double the level of families in the general public. And according to another organization that has an office here, it's 40% of Muslim students report being bullied because they are Muslim. And so it consists of verbal bullying. In the case of Muslim girls who wear the hijab like you see me wearing, which is the nun-like covering that some Muslim women wear, they often get assaulted and have their scarves offensively touched or pulled off. And then, of course, the problem has extended to social media. Next slide. And the impact on Muslim students is, as you might imagine, as it is with all kids that are bullied, is depression, anxiety. Muslim students describe their experiences in their own words in some of these reports, and it's really heart-wrenching to read. For example, one says, "My teacher stereotyped Muslims and called on me to be the expert," which is quite common, by the way, "to explain horrific acts carried out by people in rural places of some Muslim countries I had never been to," and so forth. Next slide. Now, how to counter Islamophobia for educators. Next slide. We recommend these 3 different ways. I'm only going to cover recommended sources. Next slide. Educator resources. And I'm so glad that one of the trustees actually mentioned the Arab American Museum. We helped create, or rather I helped create, the one lesson plan that's in the ethnic studies model curriculum that was just released by the CDE, by the California Department of Education. And we include the resources of the Arab American Museum, which is, they're excellent resources. We also have resources, next slide, in the form of actual trainings that we deliver to educators, K through 12. And these trainings are, from 1 hour to 4 hours, depending on how long you're able to give us. And then we have a lot of modules that we can include in this training on teaching against Islamophobia. Next slide. We also have speakers bureaus that come into the classroom to supplement actual content standards. So teachers are required to teach in social studies several different topics. And so we supplement that curriculum in these 4 different presentations. So we have trained and certified speakers that do this work, that are trained on First Amendment guidelines and how to teach about people of faith in general. Next slide. And then we also do the same kind of work in the context of interreligious and religious pluralism in the United States. So we actually go out as Muslims, Jews, Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus together to give these presentations to supplement these content standards that are related to people of various religious backgrounds. And we have a dozen different topics that we speak on. And these are just some of them that are the most often requested panels that we're invited to do. Next slide. We also have anti-racism workshops and panels that we do in the classroom. And we have two different types. One is understanding the origins and impact of bigotry in the United States, where we connect Islamophobia to other forms of bigotry. And so we root it in anti-Blackness, anti-Latinx, anti-Asian, anti-Jewish, or anti-Semitism. And so these panels, again, we go out together with African-American speakers, Asian American, Indigenous people, Latinx, and Jewish and Muslim speakers. We go out together and speak on these topics. And we have two different types of panels that we do. And this is supplemented by 14 lesson plans on anti-racism that begins with defining what a narrative is, what the roots of the narratives are, and it goes back actually as far back as the Crusades and the colonial period, and how these narratives have been reinforced in our society, and how that's related to whiteness and white supremacy, and how it has become really systemic racism, and where we're conditioned to think a particular way about different groups of people. And it's not just the white issue, it's actually all of us are racist. All of us have stereotypes about each other, good and bad. And so that's what these lesson plans do. They unpack all of this. And they're wonderful. And two of them are part of the ethnic studies model curriculum that was accepted by the California Department of Education. But they promote all of them, actually. They love all of them. Next slide. And then we also have other lesson plans that are available for teachers that they can download, and they supplement very specific content standards that a teacher is required to teach. Next slide. And then we have answers to frequently asked questions about Muslims. So that's just open. That's available, and it's in this webpage. Next slide. And an educator, an administrator can get all of our resources by going to this link. And if you click on this link, you'll go to the webpage, and we have resources for administrators, principals, for teachers in the classroom and staff. And then we also have resources for parents as well, Muslim and Arab parents. So, yeah. So thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you today.
Thank you so much. And I think one of the things that's incredible about your group is I believe all of this is available for free. Is that correct? That's
yes,
just,
absolutely.
I mean, that is so fantastic for public schools. You know, that's always often the barrier to how to reach high quality, resources like this.
Yeah,
so,
and I wanted to give a shout out to the San Francisco Foundation, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, Haas Senior Fund, Rosenberg Fund, Hellman Foundation that are funders of the organization, and it allows us to produce very scholarly work that is directly related to what teachers are required to teach in the classroom.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Alganides, for taking the time to be here. Really appreciate it.
I have a question.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes, I was wondering if the PowerPoint or the link to the website could be added to the docket or agenda in some manner, so it's easy for folks to search when they're looking for the information, or if it could be added in the education parts of the website.
Laura has the PowerPoint. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I also did want to briefly read, we had one other person who was going to speak tonight who's not able to come, but he sent a statement. And this is Dr. Popal, who's a professor of University of San Francisco, Department of International and Multicultural Education. He's also the president of our local Noor Islamic Cultural Community Center. He says, "My name is Sadiq Popal, and I have been a proud resident of Concord since September 22nd, 1981, almost 40 years. I have 2 children, and both of them graduated from Ignacio Valley High School, Concord. Mustafa, my eldest son, is currently working as a full-time tenured professor at Skyline College and teaches American history. My youngest son, Raman Popal, is a lawyer and works for a law firm in San Francisco. I'm very proud of Mount Diablo Unified School District for serving our communities so very well and for being committed to excellence in education. My children are prime examples of the success and the hard work of Mount Diablo Unified School District faculty, administrators, and staff. My children who spoke a different language, represented a different culture, believed in a different religion, and belonged to a different ethnicity were welcomed by Mount Diablo Unified School District. MDUSD not only welcomed them, but also honored what they brought to their classes, their first language and culture. I believe that the district has always been in the forefront of appreciating multilingualism, multiculturalism, inclusion, and pluralism in the district. It is in this spirit that I wholeheartedly support the recognition of the month of April as Arab American Heritage Month. So I just wanted to share that with everyone as well. All right, thank you so much, everyone. And we'll move on to the next item. Dr. Clark, did you have a comment?
No,
Okay. Okay, you're ready. Okay, let's see. So moving on to 10.0, there are reports and information. So 10.1 is to review the update on Mount Diablo CARES expanded learning program. Dr. Clark.
Yeah, so as we have been working very hard throughout this year to reopen our schools for in-person learning, although learning has been taking place throughout the year, you know, a big part of that was many parents need after-school care. You know, so we do have programs that support these families and whatnot, and so we wanted to. I wanted to invite Ms. Roberts here, who oversees those programs, to just come and give us an update, provide the board an update, and maybe the public isn't quite sure on our CARES program, but we really just wanted to highlight some of the exceptional work that Ms. Roberts and her team are doing to support students' extended care. And so without any further ado, I am going to turn this over to Ms. Roberts, and she and her team will then take it from there. So, Ms. Roberts.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the support. We're going to co-present tonight. Eric Rigo is our coordinator for expanded learning and is the boots on the ground doing the day-to-day work. I fortunately get a lot of compliments for CARES, and it is in my blood. As board member Mason and I know, we began it long time ago. But the day-to-day work really lies with Eric and his team offering amazing services for kids. So we have a PowerPoint presentation, if that can be pulled up. Great. So this is just a picture, a little bit of what it looked like day one. We've got safe distancing and kids actually getting their hands on some manipulatives, which I know they missed immensely. If you can go to the next slide. Just to set the stage, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but the CARES After School or Expanded Learning Program has been around since 1999, and it began with 6 schools through a partnership with Mount Diablo Unified, Ambrose Park and Rec, and the City of Concord. And over the duration of time, partners changed and additional schools were added. We are now at 15 sites or 15 sites that are funded, and it's primarily funded by the After School Education and Safety Grant. We have a $3.4 million grant annually, and we just were renewed for 3 years last February. We also incorporate additional local grants and foundational grants, and then the district does utilize some categorical resources to support our high school programs and to serve additional students. In a normal year, we serve approximately 2,300 students every school day and during a 4-week summer session. And these programs, is it the next slide, you'll see in a second that you'll see which schools they are. They're traditionally at our high need schools. And the focus is around enrichment, recreation, nutrition, STEM, and academic support. And we offer this program in partnership with our current partner who's been with us for many, many years, Bay Area Community Resources. So they hire our staff and we work in partnership to co-run a very high quality expanded learning program. Next slide. This slide lists our 12 elementary schools, our 3 middle and our 2 high. and 6 of the schools were part of the originals. That's one of our students doing some physical activity in the multi-use room. And it gives you a flavor of when we're talking about the CARES program, we're talking about these 17 specific schools. So for those that are listening, these are the schools where we run these programs. Next slide. We are so overjoyed to share that we were able to start in-person programming on March 25th alongside the school district offering hybrid. We have in-person programming at 12 elementary schools and 3 middle. Our high school program is still primarily distance, but we're continuing to grow with that and are looking forward to a very strong summer program as well. Currently, our in-person program is using an AB model. So around 28 students come on Monday, Tuesday, 28 different students come on Thursday, Friday, and we run our program approximately from 2:30 to 5:30. Wednesdays is a distance only, and through our program, they're getting enrichment, engagement, team building, STEM, and hands-on. We want, it's a lot of hands-on. We're continuing to focus on physical activity, nutrition, and we have amazing garden programs happening. And then we are incorporating some partnerships with our academic liaisons to provide some skill building for those students that are in the program. In addition, we are offering the daily snack and the meal distribution as part of the CARES expanded program. An additional component that we've been adding starting back in March is working very closely with our principals to identify what services need to be happening in the morning and what need to be happening in the afternoon. And so we had 3 elementary schools, Cambridge Meadow Homes and Ignacio Valley, that requested some additional support to run morning programs. It's not the traditional program you're seeing on the slide, but it's really more supervision and support of their distance learning, but students being on campus. And Eric and his team continue to have the conversations with the principals around if and when they want to offer or can offer additional morning programs, because some of this is based on space and staff availability. So that's something that we're continuing to have conversations around and have already started to think about what our summer program looks like. Next slide. And Eric's going to take over from here for the next couple of slides.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Clark. Good evening, Board of Trustees. It's nice to see everybody. Hope all is well. March 2020, that is a date that, everything kind of just came to a close and we didn't know what the future held and all of that stuff. But our after school program moved on. And right away we were thinking, planning, how can we move forward and continue to serve the community, our students. So some ways that we did that was make and take activities. The purpose of those was to develop, compile, and distribute hands-on make and take activities for students to do at home. These activities were distributed once to twice a week and incorporates art, STEM, nutrition, gardening, physical activity. We tried to coordinate these days with the food service program as well to try to connect with as many students and community members as possible. As well as our online activities, we created our CARES YouTube page. Obviously, social media is a very popular way to connect with the students. So we took it upon ourselves to create a YouTube page where the kids could still see us virtually doing hands-on activities. We all participated, whether it was something recreational, indoors, doing hands-on activities, instructions for them to be able to have access, music, any kind of enrichment, which was really fun. We incorporated that with our class dojo. As you can see on the slide here, if you take the time to go on the district website and then go to the after school program department, you'll see our MDUSD CARES Expanded Learning platform. And when you get onto this platform, you can see that every door is to a specific school site. Now, this is available for the students, the parents, teachers, yourselves. You click on that door and it's just magical stuff. It really is. It's contact information, it's links for resources, activities. It takes you to our YouTube page, Harvest of the Month, community food updates, everything that is going on with the after school program, past, present, future. That's kind of our network right there. And it's just accessible right off the district page. With that, I do want to give an absolute shout out to my management team, Cherie Gann, Rosa Palomino, Cindy Morello, my program coordinators, a lot of them that I've had the pleasure to work with for over 12 years, and the 130 line staff. They, in a lot of ways, have been the frontline staff when this pandemic started. 1 week, 2 weeks in, being at the school sites, passing out food, helping with the principals, check out supplies, Chromebooks, helping with the end of the year wrap up, collecting supplies. They've been there through thick and thin, and this program would not be possible for them. So for the 130 staff that work for the CARES After School program, I do want to take this time and say thank you. You are what makes this engine go. Last couple of things is our Sports for Learning. We're continuing to partner with Sports for Learning. Sports for Learning, the purpose of it, it's a fun curriculum, it's physical activity games, it's all virtual, safe and fun. And then also our science curriculum. We've partnered with the National Inventors Hall of Fame this past spring. We're offering Zoom science clubs. Students participate in the clubs. The clubs are offered once, twice a week, with the CARE staff facilitating the curriculum. The hands-on problem-based learning experience is for students through kindergarten and 8th grade, and the modules are all aligned with the next generation science standards, which is obviously very important. Next slide. Okay, these obviously are a lot of numbers right here. I think Stephanie's going to touch up a little bit on it, but the numbers right here is the data. We wanted to make sure that we were tracking as much data as possible when this all first started and our distance programming. And the way that we were collecting our data was, okay, let's make sure that any student that takes a make and take activity, any student that collects, that gets the supper through the food program, that accesses our class dojo, our online platforms, that we're making sure that we're tracking and connecting to these students and then referring back to how we usually collect our data and making sure that we are reaching out to the students that aren't necessarily finding the ways or having the ways to access everything we're doing online, as far as cross-checking, making sure that we're accumulating all of these kids. And that was how we did it. So it's been nonstop phone calls, reaching out, advertising, and that's how we've been able to attract so many different students throughout this past year. Did you want to add anything, Stephanie?
Yeah, and the only thing, we just wanted you guys to see kind of a breakdown. Definitely, we're seeing a lot more elementary participation. And we do look at our communities. So we actually see probably an equal breakdown of our 3 primary areas of Bay Point, the Monument Corridor, and the Solano Way. You can go to the next slide. We are, as I mentioned, we are already looking for summer programming. Our plan is to offer at 15 sites. There are 2 elementary schools that will have to have it in a different location due to maintenance and operation work. Our program will coincide with our summer sessions that are being coordinated at the school. So they will go from June 7th to July 3rd, Monday through Friday, tentatively 8:30 to 2:30, but we know this summer is unique. And so program hours may be a little bit different based on the specific needs of the schools. CARES is already working in collaboration with the principal and the school team to figure out what each school needs in particular, but we know what we do well. We do enrichment, we do recreation, nutrition, STEM, and social emotional learning and relationships. I'll throw in there gardening as well. So we plan on doing those components, but CARES is very flexible and creative. And so we'll figure out what that looks like. We are cautiously saying that we're going to serve approximately 50 to 75 students, but if space and need and staff availability and safety is available, we'll go higher. We just need to make sure that if there's a need and there's space and we have enough staff, we'll go to what is comfortable because we know there's a lot of students that need that extra support. In addition to normal in-person during the summer, we will continue to kind of have our distance learning platform because we found that that's been an area that has really been beneficial and has expanded the reach to more students that don't come in person. So it's kind of one of those glass half full parts of that was one of the positives of this situation. I think we've really created an amazing program that I think will be sustainable. Next slide.
Steph, you can have one last thing.
Mhm.
So when it comes to, we've opened up program and we're in coordination with the hybrid model. We've taken all the necessary steps for our staff to ensure safety and non-cross contamination. And so we spent a lot of hours making sure that every student that got enrolled in the CARES After School program had their own set of supplies, their own scissors, their own pencil, their own jump rope, their own basketball, providing the necessary masks and everything for our staff. So we so far have not had any issues and it's been going great. So that's why we would like to enroll more students sooner rather than later if everything goes according to plan, because how things are going right now, it's going great. So it's been a blessing to be able to provide the students with all the necessary, their own equipment, but that's kind of the goal moving forward too. And I did not want to forget, thank you to the principals. The list of school sites that are on there that have our CARES After School program. They have been open arms and they have been wonderful to work with these last few years. And they've made this a very seamless transition to welcome us back on campus. So I wanted to say thank you to principals as well.
Thank you, Eric.
Quick question, Stephanie, on this slide, just before you move to the next one, the 50 to 75 students, is that per school site?
Yes, per school site.
Okay, thank you.
Good clarification, thank you. All right, next slide. We are hoping that you're going to get a visual of what CARES looks like. So we have, I think Mario's going to try to click the link and so you can see the video. It's like a 2-minute video. And then at the end, we're open for any questions or comments. So he's going to try. We're not sure if it's going to work, but fingers crossed. If not, we will get it on the district website. There is music. I guess we can't hear the music, but you'll get a visual. As you're seeing, these were the first actually couple of days of program. And so we were looking at anywhere from 12 to 14 to 20. It seems like every day we tend to see more and more students because the nervousness is subsiding and they're talking to their friends. That's a picture of our Make and Take, supporting the food service program and the meal distribution. Perfect. All right. With that, we will make sure that video with music is on the district website. And kudos to the CARES team. They are always so creative in putting together videos. And with that, our last slide is just if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, we're here to answer any questions. And we appreciate the board and the superintendent's support.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Eric. And with that, I'll open it up to questions from trustees.
Well, I want to thank Dr. Clark because I had asked for the presentation. As someone that was in on the ground floor and have lobbied around the state, around the country for after school programs, I know that they're uniquely suited to meet the individual needs of these communities, especially in these hard times. And I just wanted to make sure we were fully utilizing you. And it looks like we are, and I hope we could continue to grow, as Eric said, and get more and more kids in there as long as we can keep them safe. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Vice President Mason. Other questions, comments? Trustee Nzewi.
I just want to thank you all. Thank you. The after school programs, especially in our state and in our country, are severely inadequately funded. And so you do a whole lot with very little. I'm curious if it's really only been, even though it's been a week and a half, it's only been a few days back. And I'm curious if you're able to allow all of the families, all of the students who want to attend at this point.
Like
So-
if there's a waiting list kind of thing?
Eric, do you recall if we have waiting lists at each of the sites right yet?
We do. We do. And as soon as we have the opportunity to have additional resources, whether that's more classrooms, spaces on campus, we would love to add more students. We are currently operating a 2 line staff to every 14 student ratio that was recommended from ACEs in the state, as far as, just ensuring safety and cross-contamination, kids going to the bathroom and things like that. But it has only been a couple weeks, but it's been going really well. So I'm hoping that as the resources become available, that we continue to add more students.
Yeah, and I think we definitely are committed to keeping the board and the superintendent informed on how many students we're serving, what our wait list looks like, and working in partnership with our principals. If we have staff and we have space and we have a wait list, then our charge would be trying to figure out how we can get those students served as quickly as possible. And like I said, we're already looking into summer. So hopefully that will help ease some of our families' minds, knowing that they have some resources to attend. In addition to our traditional school summer session, CARES would allow that expanded time so that those families that are working might have a place for their kids to stay while they're working. But yeah, we will definitely look, and we can update you all on what the wait list looks like and where we are moving forward. We can do that in our our board updates to you on the month.
That would be really great, because I had a similar question of, what are the limitations that you face? Like when you talk about a wait list, does that include everyone who responded to the parent survey asking for either morning or afternoon care? Because if morning care is only at 3 of the sites, at those 3 sites, do you have a waiting list? And then the other sites that had requests for morning care?
We tried our best to kind of coordinate and keep it consistent across the board with all 17 sites. So that's why we worked with the principals, myself and Stephanie. We met with them as far as, okay, the students that are in this hybrid model, let's continue to have them come to the after school program. It's those longer days on campus, and those parents can maximize their child being on campus. But sky's the limit, honestly. Like I would love to serve more students. It was just, let's keep it, okay, we want to make sure what we're doing at Cambridge, we're doing at Meadow Homes as far as how we're enrolling. So that's why we wanted all the principals to be on the same page with how we're doing the enrollment process.
I think the one piece we can commit to the board is to having those conversations. We do after school really well. So we don't want to have to, if there's a need in the morning, we don't want to take away from providing expanded learning during the after school time. So we have to figure out if there's enough staff, if there's an interest from students, and there's space and the capacity for the school to do a morning program. We'll say, hey, we got X number of people that can support, but what we're looking at is trying to serve more than 56 students per school in the expanded learning program, because we know we're serving way more students than that during the day. So what we're going to look at our wait list, we're going to look at the capacity, and then we will, ensuring that we can create a safe environment and we have enough staff, we will continue to kind of expand the number of students we can serve, because we have been itching and excited to be on campus with the students. And I'm very proud and grateful for the team and the work they're doing. So.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really incredible. I think, you know, what you've been able to put together so far, both, like you said, Eric, that, you know, that your staff's been, you know, on the ground at our school sites from day one.
Well, you were with me, Teresa,
Yep.
that last April, that first STEM day.
That's right. That's
That
right.
was all
That fell
that.
there.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was great.
So, you know,
Yeah, so I know. Yeah, so it's fantastic. But now as we move into hybrid, I know that parents, especially working parents, are looking for that full day solution. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of like morning and after care, right? Ideally, if there was a way to do that. And so my question going forward, so you wouldn't have the answer to it tonight, would be, you know, are there limitations that you're facing in terms of you don't have enough funding for more staff, you know, or a situation like that where we should look at some of our one-time, you know, AB 86 funds to go towards this, either to expand your resources for the spring and or the summer?
Eric, let me answer that. I think our biggest issue is staff. We have to make sure that we have enough trained and prepared staff to provide quality programming. And so once we know what the needs are and the capacity of what can be provided in the morning program, the principals know, hey, we've got a list of staff that can provide that morning program, because we've got to make sure that they're in both programs. So I think the biggest issue is not money, because we were very fortunate. I mean, CARES was able to carry over their money with the ACES funding. So we don't necessarily need district funds. We need human bodies that want to work and care about kids. So I guess the message, and maybe that's a great platform, Sharice, to share, is if you're listening and you have a individual who loves kids and who wants to work after school, please contact Eric. We like high quality, motivated, creative people. It's a great program. You learn a lot of skills. I mean, we have plenty of staff that have been rec staff who become program coordinators, who are now classroom teachers. Some of our, you know, so it's a great program, and people come when they come back from college. So that would be the message, is if we would need more staff, because that will directly link to what we're doing this summer. If we're going to try to serve 100 kids, we're going to need many more staff. And if it becomes an issue around finances, we will definitely share that with Dr. Clark, because I know Mount Diablo is very creative with leveraging resources, whether they're one-time or existing resources that target our particular population.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. Well, feel free to share with us the advertising you're doing for those positions, because I know a number of us are out there in social media world. Be happy to share it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's not limitations in terms of requirements around student staff ratios, or like, what do you follow the child care regulations when it comes to that?
Traditionally, we're only a 20-to-1 ratio, but because of CD's guidelines due to the COVID pandemic, we're doing the 2-to-14. So that does affect our ratio. As we work with our CDE partners, if that changes, that'll allow us to potentially serve more. But as a grant, we're not at our maximum yet. So like traditionally, Cambridge would be able to serve 170 or 60 students. Right now, they're only serving 58. So if we were able to grow and get that high, then it would be a grant requirement that we couldn't serve more students. But right now, we're completely under the in-person student to staff ratio.
Yes.
I know you have a full agenda, so I don't want to.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I just want to thank Stephanie and Miss Roberts, Mr. Rigo for their work. You know, seeing those, a picture says 1,000 words, and seeing those pictures were just, you know, very just heartwarming. And just a PR thing is this is how I started in the profession, working in one of these programs. And so, so definitely you can join one of these programs as a 17-year-old, and one day you can lead a school district. So, so thank you so much for all that you're doing and continue to do to serve our students. So
it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving on to item 10.2, review the hybrid memorandum of understanding and side letter with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 43, CSEA. Dr. Clark.
Yeah, so I'm gonna turn these next 4 items over to our HR team, who I just want to really want to recognize for their hard work, for them really working with our employee group leaders in bringing these MOUs forward. This is something that we haven't always done in the past in terms of bringing the agreements forward to the board, although we're not required to, or there's no action that is taking place. We just want to be transparent and again share the process, share the outcomes, and show that we are committed to having a very transparent and professional relationship with all of our employee groups. And so again, I just want to thank Dr. Rubio and Dr. Scudero for their leadership in this area. And I want to thank the leaders of all of these labor groups who are really working hard for their members to make sure that, that we have processes and procedures in place to make sure that everyone has what they need to do their jobs effectively. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Dr. Rubio for these next 4 items.
Great, appreciate that. Thank you, Superintendent Clark. I'm going to turn the first 2 over to Dan Scudero. Dr. Scudero is going to give us a little more information about the first 2 items.
So 10.2, we'd like to bring for your review the hybrid memorandum of understanding and the side letter with the California Schools Employees Association, Chapter 43, CSEA. Again, this item doesn't require any action, but if there are any questions, we'd love to answer them.
Trustees, any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much for the opportunity for us to be able to show this to the public and to the board. Moving on to item 10.3, review the, oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
You were going to read the same thing, so I'm going to let you take it.
Well, I was just going to say, this is for the review of the memorandum of understanding with the Mount Diablo School Psychologists Association, also known as MUDSCA. Be pleased to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Trustees? Seeing none. Go ahead, Dr. Scudero on the next one.
Thank you. I'll actually hand it back to Dr. Rubio.
Oh, okay.
Great, thank you. And I just want to echo what Dr. Clark said. We certainly do also appreciate all of our bargaining unit leaders and leadership. They are all unique units and bargaining units with different areas that we're discussing. And I appreciate really Dr. Scudero, Cesar Alvarado, and all of the bargaining unit leaders as we continue to try to work together, always, sometimes during challenging financial times. So we appreciate their help and support as we try to find common ground many times. So that being said, the next item, 10.4, is the our usual board meeting review of the increase and decrease of certificated personnel. For your information, if there are any questions.
Trustees, any questions on this item? Seeing none, we can move on to the next one.
Great, and similar to 10.4, 10.5 is the review of the increase and decrease changes going up and down in our positions for classified personnel.
Trustees, any questions on this one? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Dr. Rubio and Dr. Scudero. Yes, and as everyone has said, we really appreciate the coming to an agreement with our employee groups. I think oftentimes in the public eye, in the media, there's a focus only on teachers and what's happening with teachers, but really our focus as an organization is, and our values are for all employees. And so we really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. All right, moving on to 11.1, board member reports. Let's start with Trustee Mayo.
Myself. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and This is our first meeting since in-person instruction began, and I want to thank the negotiation teams and all the teachers and staff who made this a possibility. The joy and the sound of the children of our campuses has been heartwarming. And I want to thank the parents and the caregivers who have been in isolation with their children. They gave up normalcy in their lives to protect and educate their children. They have appreciated teachers in public schools, and many are grieving over their inadequacy to create the same learning environment at home. I want to say to each one of these parents, you are amazing and you are survivors. Our community, I, and educators are indebted to each one of you. So thank you for the time and effort you have put in to caring for your children. At the CAC meeting last night, the CAC legislation team discussed AB 967. So I'd like to bring this to everyone's attention. It's a bill that would increase special education funding for COVID relief, alternative dispute resolution, and other items. And the support letter was issued by the CAC to push the bill along and perhaps gain enough support for its approval. So if you're interested, please reach out to CAC or just look up the bill AB 967 and provide your support, your personal support as well. Extended school year is from June 7th to July 2nd. Over 400 students have already been enrolled by their families, and fall for all is the goal. Yes, there is a transportation challenge. There are 80 routes, 85 drivers, and 55 students are yet to be assigned a bus driver or a bus route. Primarily, it's a matter of distancing for the buses, and a bus for 60 can only transport 14 students. Also, the short lunch hour transition period prevents a turnaround time for a second route. So please, I'm just sharing this information so that everyone understands the complexity that's involved with transporting our students. Alternative busing like County Connection cannot be used because the Highway Patrol requirements require yellow buses. There's special standards for the transportation of public school students. This Community Advisory Committee Virtual Legislation Day is May 5th. It runs from 9 to 4 p.m. approximately. In the morning, there's a program with speakers and some very heartwarming presentations by families with special ed students and the success stories of those students. And in the afternoon, there will be some virtual meetings planned with legislators. And if you're interested in attending, please contact Chris at wilburnc@mdusd.org. And on May 6th, I would like to invite everyone to join the celebration for the Medea Academy Awards. It's at 6 p.m. and you can view the nominees at ourmedea.org website and watch for meeting access on that same web page. There's a lot of names that are very familiar and some very new names and new staff members that have been nominating, and it's always there's over 180 different individuals that have been nominated. So it shows how valued our staff members are throughout the district. And I am fortunate to be one of the trustees to receive a notice to circulate petitions for recall. I want to share that I value our democratic process, which does include elections and recall elections. As a trustee, the word recall has been used over time to generate awareness of particular viewpoints in frustration and in anger. When I value the democratic process, I must appreciate the right to recall as well. I cannot be frozen in my decisions by the possibility of recall, I must still make decisions based on what I believe is in the best interest for our students. I want to thank everyone who is participating in the process and what your view is, whether you support the recall or you have concerns. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to stand up for our community and discuss what I stand for and what I think public education should be for our community. And as a closing comment, I would just like to say, I support the return to 5-day-a-week in-person instruction for the fall, absent a COVID's resurgence, because I don't think we can make a promise that it will happen should there be a resurgence. So stay well, and I'll see you on the campaign trail soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Let's go to Trustee Alas. Trustee Alas, would you like to go next? I think you're on. Oh, there we go.
Sure. My Wi-Fi was a little bit. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes. Would you like to give your board report? Oh, maybe you can't hear us. Okay, we'll come back to you, Trustee Alas.
My Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Yeah, come back to me. Sorry, it was like, did she call me? I can't hear. Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back to you, and hopefully it'll be a little stronger in a few minutes. All right, Trustee McFerrin.
All right, sure. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back from spring break. So I would like to share that during the week before spring break, I was able to visit 3 of our school campuses to see our students and staff. I visited Westwood, El Dorado, and Concord High. This was during my spring break, and it was the absolute highlight of my week off. I was able to visit kindergarten classes where students were coloring, they were listening, engaging in a book read aloud, and they appeared to be building rapport and friendships with their peers. And that was really great to see and so special, especially in our youngest students. And in the older grades, I saw students actively engaged in class discussions and art projects. It was great to see backpacks on hooks outside of rooms, the evidence that our students have returned to campuses, and to see the buzz and excitement that is only on our sites when students are present. At El Dorado and Concord High, I saw students and teachers engaged in community building activities. I also really enjoyed seeing the wood shops at both sites. It was really special to see students engaged in hands-on activities offline. I really want to acknowledge that it was an incredibly heavy lift for our site administrators, faculty, and staff to prepare for students to return. When I think about educators, I think about the duck analogy, which is that educators are a lot like ducks, because a swimming duck, because there's so much effort going on under the surface just in order to stay afloat. But from the surface, everything looks completely calm. And so I really saw that in the members of our site staff visiting schools. Everyone looked incredibly relaxed, and that really had to do with how much effort was put in advance of students' return. And so I want to thank everyone who worked incredibly hard to get our students back before spring break. I was so very glad to see students return to campus before spring break, and then for everyone to hopefully be able to relax during that time. I would also like to share that that on March 26th, I attended a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Boys and Girls Club in Martinez for their new Little Free Anti-Racist Library. It was provided by Rise Up Against Racism. This is a nonprofit that was founded by Meg Honey, Sarah Foster, and Jenny Roy. They've stated that the goal of the Anti-Racist Book Initiative is to bring the community together, create a space for vital conversations about anti-racism, and ensure that both children and adults have ready access to books that elevate Black voices and inspire us all to understand and actively dismantle racism. I was so very pleased to be in attendance at this event, and I'm grateful to Meg, Sarah, Jenny, and everyone else who supported anti-racist efforts in our community and continue to do so. Recently, the efforts to bring a Little Free Anti-Racist Library to Clayton fully funded. So I'm very excited to see this, this effort continue and expand. Also, 2 weeks ago, I was able to meet with the leadership class at Mount Diablo High School on Zoom. The students shared their perspectives on what's working well at Mount and what they'd like to see improved. Students reported in part that they have an excellent college and career center and that they're especially grateful for Brian Brown, who's the counselor in charge of this operation. Students know that he will support them in preparing for and accessing information on their opportunities post-high school. Students also said that their teachers are caring and try their hardest to understand students. They also had some excellent feedback on where we can improve the experience for students at Mount. One student reported that the library is inactive and that they'd like to see it refreshed and more accessible to students. So I was pleased to see something on our consent agenda about that. Others commented on the physical appearance of the school and the impact that this has on students' mental health. Another student spoke about the need for more funding for athletics and commented that it can be hard for student athletes to think of themselves as worthy opponents while wearing old uniforms. And there was also some discussion about the wall-to-wall academy model, which certainly has benefits and drawbacks. All these things considered, the students' comments that I think are most representative of the school are that Mount needs to change and evolve with each new generation, and that Mount Diablo High School has the potential to be the best high school in the district, and that Mount is a school that gives students the freedom to be themselves and is a community that pushes students to try new things. I want to thank the leadership students at Mount for spending the morning with me and sharing so openly and honestly with me. I'd also like to thank Mr. Ananos, who is an exceptional leadership teacher and a huge asset to Mount Diablo High School and MDUSD. I'd also, of course, like to thank Brian Brown for his incredible commitment to providing opportunities for our kids. The entirety of our Mount Diablo High School staff has been working so hard this year, and it was evident in my conversation with the students that they see this. So thank you, Mount Diablo High School administration, faculty, and staff for your tremendous efforts this year. Last night, I also attended the CAC, which Trustee Mayo did a great job of going over some of the main points of the meeting. One thing that we did was that we met in breakout rooms to brainstorm some additional ideas to support students. And so I really appreciated the opportunity to work with parents to identify kind of some additional ways to provide more access points and more opportunities for our students in special education. Let's see, and that's all I have to share tonight.
Thank you very much, Trustee McFerrin. Trustee Alas, how is your internet doing?
It is doing better. I can hear you now. Thank you so much for your patience. Hello, everybody. Good night. I hope everyone had a relaxing spring break. I want to start by thanking all the teachers and administrators in the bargaining units who worked so hard to get our students back on campus. And I know that a lot of students are benefiting from being back in person and their social emotional learning as well, their mental health. That it's very useful. I know during this time of AP exams, at least for high school students, to have that more robust support system in school. So I'm very appreciative of that. I want to start by advertising an event that the MDUSD Student Advisory Committee of the Mount Diablo Education Foundation is putting on this Friday. I can drop the link in the chat, but let me know if that takes you where I want you to take. That should be a Google form to sign up for our slam poetry night. It'll be the first one ever. It'll be virtual. We are going to have some keynote speakers, including our very own Dr. Clark. Anyone is invited to give a poem or to just simply watch. We have some teachers going, we have students going. It's going to be a fun night. So very excited about that. Yes, Trustee Mason, do you have a question about the slam poetry night? Okay.
She was writing down so you could register for it.
Oh, good.
You raised hand on the screen there, so okay.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I saw her hand. So if anyone has any questions, you can direct those at me, but it's going to be a very fun night, and we've been working hard planning it, setting an agenda, getting their speakers. So please sign up, and you don't have to give a speech. I mean, you don't have to give perform a poem, but if you decide in the moment, hey, I want to perform a poem, then you can as well. So that will be exciting. I wanted to let some families know that very soon I'm going to actually, starting today, as part of my senior project, I have devoted my attention to learning more about English language learners and English language learning families and bilingual families, as well as low income families. So I'm soon going to be a MGUSD liaison at the Monument Crisis Center on Wednesdays. I was just there today helping hand out some food. I know that we have a lot of families in MGUSD who rely on the Monument Crisis Center in order to receive food or other resources or receive information about what is happening in your community. So that I will soon be a point person there on Wednesdays in terms of communication. So if there's anyone who regularly visits the Monument Crisis Center and would need some help walking through Parent Square, or needs help knowing about our meal schedule or meal plan, I will be there to assist you, and more than happy to meet you in person. And lastly, coming up, I'm going to have a Student District Advisory Committee meeting and opening that up to a lot more students. We have close to like 30, 40 signups now. So I'm opening that up to a lot of students who express interest. We're going to be discussing local controlling accountability plan and how students can get more involved in providing input and feedback for that document. That is it from me. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Trustee Alas. All right, Trustee Nzeri.
Good evening. Like everyone else, I hope that all of our students, staff, teachers, and to whatever extent possible, parents enjoyed a restful and restorative spring break and are ready to take on this home stretch of the school year. And congratulations to the staff, the teachers, administrators, parents who made welcoming students back to campus go off as seamlessly as anyone could have hoped. And if you follow the hashtag MDUSD is back, you'll get all the feels, and you'll see just all of the wonderful smiles and activity that's been going on at our campuses the last few days. I'm pleased to be working with a volunteer to host a listening session for the community of Afghan parents in Area 3 who speak Dari. I'm hoping that we're able to organize and host this by Zoom over the next few weeks. But I'm really looking forward to hearing from another part of our community that we haven't typically heard from. I think a lot of people should be interested and should know that this morning, the California State Senate Democrats released their Build Back Boldly budget package for 21-22. And it lays out their priorities as we're approaching May Revise next month, which is when the state has a more accurate idea of how much money it has, and the governor revises his January proposal. So in the Senate package for K-12 education, they are providing a record level of one-time and ongoing resources to schools as the Prop 98 guarantee grows with the rebounding economy. They would like to ensure long-term stability of local schools by maximizing pay down of deferrals while balancing need for new one-time investments, and provide additional support for school pension stabilization. That's a big one, I know. They also want to provide supports for mental health, learning loss, other pandemic-related impacts by leveraging education and health policies, increase school nutrition support to better ensure all students are better able to learn. And I think in the discussions that I've heard, it's more similar, keeping in line with how we've had the waivers for this whole past year of being able to feed every student no matter what. And expand funding for special education programs. So this is just what the Senate is prioritizing. So they'll have to negotiate with the assembly, and then the legislature together will have to negotiate with the governor to pass the final budget by June 15th. But that's just a peek into what's to come over the starting next month. I've continued to personally help people in our community, along with my husband, and actually it's mostly him, find appointments for vaccines. But I'm especially grateful to have been able to participate in a planning call with the Monument Impact that President Khan also attended on how we can get vaccines out in the Monument community. In case you missed it, on social media this week, Meadow Homes Elementary School is now a vaccination site. I had nothing to do with that, but I'm glad to see that an easily accessible vaccination site in the heart of one of the hardest hit communities in our district and county is right here at one of our schools. On the same front, an adult ed teacher reached out to me several weeks ago looking for resources to help her ESL. Students learn more about vaccines, and many of them work in food service or even elder care industry, and they were hesitant. So I shared flyers for meetings from La Clinica because they were hosting it in both English and Spanish separately, which allowed community members to learn about how the vaccine works and answer any and all questions they had. And the really good news is 2 of our students who didn't want to get vaccinated attended their event, got their questions asked, and have decided to get vaccinated. So I just really want to thank everyone in the community who's doing whatever they can to help people who want them access vaccines. That is my shortest report ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nzeri. And Trustee Mason.
Okay, since our last meeting, I attended the, I believe it was since the last meeting, the anti-biased, anti-racist committee that the district has. I participated in another webinar that was the Equity Talk, listening to superintendents across the country and how they're dealing with bringing students back in person. I've got my regular monthly report from Supervisor Federal Glover, as he always reports to our local MAC, which I chair. And we had a groundbreaking ceremony for our new fire station that's going out in Bay Point, Engine 86, that people will be glad to know we're using a lot of climate-friendly initiatives as they move forward to get a new home for the other station that has been there since 1949. I said it actually something in Bay Point that's older than me. That was groundbreaking in itself. I also belong to the Bay Point Pittsburgh coalition that deals with drug and alcohol use in the community. We had a meeting. I got a unique opportunity to sit in and listen to the CAC meeting, which I usually have a standing meeting on Tuesdays that I'm not able to make it, but that group wasn't meeting, so I did make that. And I had the opportunity to walk around with Lainey and Principal Wood at Riverview Middle School, looking at good places for kids to have outdoor education and to be able to sit and stay out of the famous Bay Point wind and sun. So that was good. And I'm glad to see that's moving forward. And thank you, Lainey, for the efforts there. And that's about it for me for this month's report.
All right. Thank you very much, Trustee Mason. All right. As for me, one of the first things I did was go and get my COVID test that was offered through our school sites. So I went over to Oak Grove Middle School and found it was really easy. So I highly recommend to students and their families, so parents and siblings can take advantage of it as well, to go to a school site and get your COVID test. There were a few things that I was thinking would make it even more accessible if it's feasible. One is to include Spanish translation in that online form. I'm glad the online form is only a one-time thing, but I noticed it was only in English. It also has a line for social security number, which is not required, but it's still on there. And it would be great to ask the company to just remove that. There's no reason why anyone would need to provide that. And it can be intimidating just to have it on there. And then just have an all paper way for people to do that initial registration would would remove one more barrier from that process. But all in all, it's been great. I know my own kids have used the COVID tests. One of them as an athlete, and it's going very well. I really appreciate that our school district is providing that. I also attended the installation of Rise Up Against Racism's little free anti-racist library along with Trustee McFerrin. And I'm excited about the way that they are growing and expanding beyond Walnut Creek into other areas. And they did mention they would be willing to partner with our district, such as a location such as perhaps in front of the district office or between the district office and Monty Gardens. There are many possibilities. So it's a wonderful group. I know in my own neighborhood, I've checked out and returned a number of books from the little free libraries myself. So much appreciate to its MDUSD parents who founded that group. So. I also got to visit schools as they were welcoming students to campus, and just really enjoyed seeing all the smiling faces and all the hard work of the staff and teachers to make that happen. So thank you to everyone who put in the endless hours to really make this all possible. I also had the opportunity to just kind of make connections between groups as I was hearing about them, that so many groups are working to vaccinate underserved communities in both Bay Point and the Monument. So I had the opportunity to volunteer out at Riverview with the new county health bilingual ambassadors. So they have an iPad with them that they write on the school site as parents drive in to drop off or pick up their kids. They can sign up someone for an appointment for a vaccine right there on the spot on that iPad. So that was a first step pilot that they were doing there. They're making a lot more connections now with the principals and the Bay Point Clinic there to create walk-up opportunities and just remove all of those barriers of the online confusing appointment system to make sure that it actually reaches the neighborhoods that were really impacted by COVID. And so thank you to Monument Impact, Monument Crisis Center, United Latino Voices, La Clinica, and the county health ambassadors who are ensuring that we really the vaccines will reach all of our students and their extended families. And thank you also to Dr. Clark, who I know spent some of his own spring break time to work with FEMA to make sure that Meadow Homes site came to fruition. So really appreciate you as well, Dr. Clark. A few things I wanted to mention that are coming up. I just want to appreciate again our MDUSD counselors who are providing those mental health webinars on a regular basis. There's one coming up on Tuesday, April 20th at 5 p.m. around anxiety and depression. And you can also watch all of the past webinars. The most recent one was recognizing when to get help beyond the home, which I thought was a really, really crucial topic that many of us are facing and need to know what to do. So really appreciate the mental health opportunities from the counselors. It's mdusd.org/mental-health has all of the information about those. And thank you to our CBO for providing Common Sense, CENTS. I don't know if everyone in the public is aware of the new column on our business services page that has answers to frequently asked questions. She's been taking questions from the public and then putting out short, clear answers. And that is at mdusd.org/BSCC. Her March 31st post included some things that people have been talking about out there, like the cost of a special election for a recall. Why is there a deficit? Where do funds come from for our district? And does district staff engage with legislators to try to get more funding? So check it out. And lastly, I want to share Drawing on Earth's Global Creative Challenge. Mark Wagner is the artist who led our largest illustrated story chalk drawing project the last couple of years pre-COVID at nearly every elementary school site in the district. And he now has a new project, a new Guinness World Record attempt that he's doing on Earth Day, April 22nd. It's a opportunity for you to join him online or in person. You can go to facebook.com/groups/drawingonearth01 all of this is on my blog as well. And join in and be part of that Guinness World Record attempt, chalk drawing. So a lot of exciting things out there. And I also did receive my recall notice and responded as well. So looking forward to continuing the conversations about what it is that our community is looking for in their representatives moving forward. And with that, I will move us on to our superintendent's report, item 12.1.
Great. Thank you so much, President Cound. And I thoroughly enjoyed hearing about all the activities that our board members have been participating in over the last couple of weeks. I think it's just a testament of the great work taking place throughout our communities. Can I please have technology pull up the presentation? Great. So I'll just I'm incorporating my superintendent's report. Also, at the conclusion of that report, I will open it up to a discussion with the trustees on the fall of fall of 2021. But some of that is included in my report. Can I have the next slide, please? So first, I just wanted to, again, just review some of these significant actions that that this board has taken place and that things that have taken place within our district. So we see back in October, we set a date for reopening as January 11th. On December 8th, we delayed that reopening. When we came back from the holidays, we set March as a target for reopening. And then on March 10th, we set sort of a target of March 22nd as when we would reopen. And on March 25th, that was actually the first day for preschool through second and many of our special education students to return to campus. And then I also just really want to acknowledge on March 26th that we did release a joint letter from myself and the Medea president, Nita Johnson, that we were both fully committed to a full reopening in the fall. So you know, I know there is some talk from some parents out there about wondering what's going to take place in fall, and I think this board and myself, we have been very clear that that we are reopening 5 days a week for all students full time in fall 2021. So I guess we'll continue to repeat that, but that is what we are doing. And then on March 29th, we brought back all of our students 3rd through 12th grade, and they returned to campus. And so that's where we currently are. We had two partial weeks of school, and now this week is actually our first full week of in-person hybrid. And so you know, I'm going to just ask I'm going to ask a segment of our community just to be patient with us as we, you know, continue to make sure that we get this right so that we can continue to have students and staff and families on our campus in the safest manner possible. Can I have the next slide, please? So just real quick, I just want to go back to January 19th. If we saw the state average, there was 105 cases for every 100,000. And here in Contra Costa County, there were 60 cases per 100,000. And at this particular time, we were in deep purple. Can I have the next slide, please? And then as we looked at March 5th, as we were getting closer to reopening, the state average was 10.2 per 100,000. And here in Contra Costa County, it was 10.9, and we were still in the purple tier. Can I have the next slide, please? During that time, between December 2nd and March 4th, our district was notified either through the health department or through our employees that we had 55 employees who had tested positive for COVID. Through contact tracing and through interviews, we determined that We could not trace any of those cases back to our school sites, but we did have 55 employees, 31 classified and 14 certificated, that had tested positive for COVID during that particular time. Can I have the next slide, please? And now as we look at where we are today, or this week, we see the statewide average at 4.8 cases per 100,000. You know, it was up to 100 at one point, just a few short months ago. And where we are today in Contra Costa County is at 5.3. And we are out of purple and we're out of red and we are now in orange. So I think that the good work that we are doing as a community and as you know, as a state is really starting to appear. As I plug in my computer, I got it. I think we're really starting to see the benefits of those sacrifices and that hard work. And I can honestly say as superintendent that I have been very pleased at the very cautious, you know, very, you know, deliberate process that we have gone through to get to where we are now. Can I have the next slide, please? I also wanted to give a quick update on vaccinations. So, so just to show you how quickly things change. So this was a slide I shared back on March 10th, and it said that the goal of our goal was to reach 1 million vaccinations by July 4th. And at this particular time, we were at 343,000 doses had been administered at this particular time. And we were still in purple just a little bit more than a month ago. And let's go to the next slide. And now when I pulled this same data today, you see at the top, the goal now has changed. Just in a month, it changed to now 1 million vaccinations by May 31st. And we are currently at a total of 840,000 vaccinations administered. And then they break it down to 544,000 people have received a first dose or received both their doses, but they are still waiting on the time period. And 326,000 people are fully vaccinated. So again, the vaccination efforts are just, you know, just really high quality throughout Contra Costa County, and the health department is doing a great job at setting up clinics and making sure that individuals have access to the vaccinations. Can I have the next slide, please? So I wanted to give a snapshot of where we are in terms of where our students are currently. And so currently we have 8,064 students. 55% of our elementary students are attending hybrid in person, right? And then 6,665, 45% of our students are still remaining in distance learning. Now, I think that's an important number because some of it could be transportation issues, some of it could be work issues, but we have over 6,000 elementary students who are still home and receiving instruction from staff. And so I want to acknowledge that you know, out of our 14,729 elementary students, 55% are back in person and 45% are remaining in hybrid. And at the secondary levels, the numbers really skew towards distance learning. So 34% of our secondary students are participating in hybrid, and 66% of our students are remaining in distance learning. So again, I fully understand that some of this could be due to transportation, some of this could be due to the hybrid schedule itself. Some people may want more time, some people want less time, some people don't want any time on campus, as you can see from our numbers. So I think when we hear individuals speak about any one of these areas, I think we have to be respectful that that different families have different needs as we're going through this global pandemic. And although you know, we all feel that there is light at the end of the tunnel and that things are getting better, depending on how you feel, you should be able to express your opinion and it be respected. And so I don't want to think that there's one voice that's guiding this district. The 6 trustees here are responsible for all 29,000 students and have to make choices and decisions that really meet the needs of those students and families. I do want to point out, if I can go to the next slide, please. No, thank you. Students, this is included in those numbers. So this isn't in addition to, this is included in those numbers. But for students who have an IEP, 52% of our students are back doing face-to-face. And of those, the other half, 48%, over 2,000 students, are still at distance learning, for a total of 4,300 students. But 65% of our moderate and severe students are back. And so, you know, so I think that is really indicative of the need that these students, you know, distance learning just was never designed for them, was never meant for them. They really needed that face-to-face support. And so I think with that high number, that's the highest percentage of any of our groups. Well, we did have 66% of the high schoolers, but by 1%. But that is a very high percent of our students who chose one way or the other. And so those moderate and severe students, you know, are back. So I do want to acknowledge that. Can I have the next slide, please? One of the challenges that Trustee Mason touched upon a little earlier, we actually have, this number has changed on us. We have about 600 students who have who need transportation, but 600 are total, but approximately 55 students are still in the process of routing. And what this comes from, you can see this picture of the bus. This still has the 6-foot distancing. And so we're in the process of working through this challenge, because there really is no distancing that needs to take place on our buses. It says that we need to make the best effort possible to provide as much space for our students. But you know, to have a bus that carries 66 students, to be only transporting 16 students on that bus is you know, is not effective, and it's something that we're working on changing. But these things do take time. So we are working with those families who still need transportation, and you know, alternative options are being explored. Can I have the next slide, please? So I wanted to touch upon testing. I know that you know, we were providing testing at all of our sites, but really the need is just not there. And so this is going to be our testing schedule. It is on our website. If you go to our COVID information page, there's a big button that says COVID testing, and all this information is there. But the following testing schedule is available for the remaining of the year. We will adjust if need be, but we are providing every Monday at Concord High, College Park, Mount Diablo, Northgate, and Ignacio. And this again is for staff, this is for athletes, this is for students, and this is for their families. So very clear on that. Yes, you have to fill out a form, and we do have those forms online, and we have those forms available. I don't know how we can not have people register, because there is pertinent information that the company needs in order to do the testing. But we're open to work with families, and if we have families who need additional support, we'll provide them that support. We want to provide this testing. You know, we're doing this. We want more people to be tested. If we have more individuals coming forward, if there's the need for testing, grows, then we will, we will provide it. But I think there's a misconception out there that if you've been vaccinated, that you still don't need to participate in testing, and that is not the case. We still want individuals to be tested, and we still should be going through this process. So so this is our testing schedule, and again, like I said, it's on our website. We have shared this out at our school sites, so our school sites have this information. We are really we really depend on our school sites to communicate much of this information. It all can't come from the central office because we have different schools. It's so different between high school, middle school, and elementary school, and we have many alternative programs that if parents have questions or need information, your number one place where you should go for that information is your school site. Can I have the next slide, please? So over since we've started testing, and that's been over the last 4 weeks, we've tested over 1,500 individuals, and I think the number exactly is about 1,550 tests have been conducted, and to date, knock on wood, please, everybody, there have been no positive results. So so this is very, very good news, but if you don't test, then you're not going to know if individuals have it. And so we want to encourage people to participate in the testing program. And so we're very excited about this number, and we want to keep it up. And it's not just, of course, I was joking when I said knock on wood, but really what it is we're implementing those safety measures, and folks are following, wearing masks and keeping a distance and using hand sanitizer. Can I have the next slide, please? Now, just an update on PPEs. 100% of school sites have MERV 13s, so 100%. We have 95 air purifiers that have been delivered out to school sites. We have over 10,000 containers of hand sanitizer and 1,700 gallons of refills that are distributed. These are out on the sites. We directed our warehouse to empty the warehouse and send that stuff out to the sites where they need it. 536 touchless thermometers. You can see close to 20,000 face shields. We're almost at 500,000 student reusable and disposable masks, 337,000 adult masks, 13,000 disposable gowns, and we have on our business, or probably on the COVID site, we do have the data included on our FOQ section of the COVID response page. So you can go on there and you can see all of the PPE that's been distributed. Can I have the next slide, please? So to talk about fall briefly, is we basically have 3 options for fall. And our number one option, and this is what we want everyone to participate in, and that's all students, 5 days a week, full-time with no hybrid. So here it is again. So I don't know if I need to post this online or something, but this is what we are doing. This is where we're going. We have an independent study program, that's Horizons, and I'm going to talk more about each of these in my upcoming slides. So I'm just going to. So Horizons is an independent study program that students transfer into the school. It is a transfer process, and then we are going to open, along with many other districts in the county and throughout the state, we are going to open a virtual academy. I do want to say, though, that there is very limited guidance from the state around these academies. So what's going to be the attendance requirements, what's going to be the instructional minutes, things to that nature. So a lot of that has not been shared with us, but we're planning on this now. So we're moving forward with this now, but the goal of the state is to have everyone back in school all day, every day. And so they don't want to necessarily put a great deal of resources into these virtual online schools because they want students in person. Can I have the next slide, please? So we're going to be sending out a survey, hopefully by the end of this week. If not this week, then by the beginning of next week. And the survey is just going to have a couple questions. I plan on having my student return to MDUSD for the 2021, it's hard to even say, 2022 school year. Yes, I am. Or no. And again, each family has to make their own decisions on what's best for their family. And I respect that. So, but if you are not returning, if you will just so kindly let us know, and we're going to put these choices out there. We're moving out of the district. We're moving out of state. We're moving out of the country. We're enrolling in an alternative public school, or we're enrolling in a private school. And if you could share that with us, that's great. Or you could click unsure at this time. But this is going to help us even further plan and be ready. And this is when you heard in the comments earlier, this is when we're assigning full-time employees to each site. This is as we're doing our staffing. So we're gonna need this information. I hear a lot of parents saying that they're considering private school. Well, now tell us what you're going to do. Are you going to stick with us, or are you going to private school? And again, you have to do what's best for your family. But we are planning for full instruction in the fall. And then if I plan on returning for the school year, I want my child to attend the following, right? Regular time, right? And here it is again, preschool through 12th grade, 5 days a week, a full day instruction at your school of residence or attendance. Can I have the next slide, please? These are the alternative programs. So the alternative programs would be Horizons Home Study. And here it is, it's a K-8 program. This is something that we already have and we've already been doing in the district. But the home study program consists of parents and guardians. You assume the responsibility for your students' learning and the management of the curriculum. Students and their parent or guardians meet with the teacher every other week, right, for support and monitoring purposes. So again, you meet with your teacher every other week, you get all of your assignments, and then you take them home and you do them on your own speed. It's self-directed, right? It's your parent, your guardian is leading students through this activity. And then we also have the independent study for 9th and 12th graders. Students meet with their teacher at a minimum of 1 hour per week to review assignments, progress, assess skills, and develop a graduation plan. So these are programs that we already have in place in the district. But again, if you're interested in these, please let us know through this survey so that we can staff them. Like this year, we didn't staff them to the level because, as you can read what they require, it's not distance learning, right? You're not going to have interaction with the teacher every day. It really is for those students who are self-motivated or are independent workers or whatnot. That is what our independent study program. And this is the same independent study program that all districts offer in some way, because there's a lot of guidance around these independent study programs. So this is nothing new here. I just really want to be clear with that. Then the other alternative program, if we can go to the next slide. This would be the Virtual Academy. And again, this is, there's very little direction coming from the state on this, but what we do know is that this is for our district residents. It is an alternative school for students who, due to health concerns or other concerns, want to continue in a distance learning environment. The school day includes daily contact with classroom teachers, utilizing both synchronous and asynchronous digital instruction, combining for a day that will be approximately the same as the length of a regular school day in person. So this will not look like what students are currently doing right now. This will be something different. Can we go to the next slide? And at the elementary level, there will be language arts, math, science, physical education, history, and science. That will be your curriculum. At the secondary level, all core subjects will be offered with limited electives. So you're not going to join this program and, for example, be able to do band or be able to do certain electives that the schools offer. We will offer, a handful of electives and and that will be what students have to choose from. Students enrolling in this academy, they'll have to submit an interdistrict transfer form and be disenrolled from their home school. Now, we have to do this because of staffing needs, because when we assign a teacher at the beginning of the year, we need that teacher to work at least in that assignment until the semester. That would be the time to make the change, or at the end of the school year. And so we're still working out the details on this, on whether, I mean, students will disenroll from their school. However, they still will have return rights if there's space available. So again, this is not a, this is going to be a challenge for some families, but again, the goal is to have all of our families back in person, and you can either do independent study, or you can do the virtual academy if that's what you choose to do. So more information to come out on this very shortly, but we do just want to get a general head count, and so that's what we're going to do with the survey that we will be administering later this week and early next week. Can I have the next slide, please? So I just as I'm wrapping this up, we collect income forms during the school year, and with us being in distance learning, it was very difficult for that, but we had staff who really did a great deal of outreach to to work with families and to do outreach to families to collect this information, because this is how we get funding to provide resources to our students from our lower income families. And so anyway, this really helped us secure funding for those students. We would have lost close to $700,000 if it were not for the efforts that staff and families put forward to in collecting these forms. And so I did want to give a big thank you to our office staffs and for food nutrition, who really assisted in collecting this information. And then if we can go to the last slide. So I just wanted to just kind of acknowledge that, we're one district, we're one team, we all have the same goals. This pandemic has impacted everyone. Everyone has been affected. Everyone's way of life has been impacted. We get it. There are some individuals in our communities who have suffered more, and what I mean by that is when we look at food distribution, and if you're coming in to get food, then that's a way to suffer, rather than someone else who they're suffering as well, but maybe they're suffering because they're unable to travel, or they're unable to go visit family, or they're unable to do some other things. And so I'm not here to judge which one is more or less, but if your basic needs, if you're worried about feeding your family, or you're worried about being evicted, like those are Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those are your basic needs, but everyone's been affected. And our purpose in this district is to serve students. That is our sole purpose. That's why we exist. And I believe, and I'm confident, that everyone who works for this district, all of our parents, this governing board, our administrators, we're all here for the same reasons. We want what's best for our kids. And I think at this point, it is time for us to focus on the possibilities of the future. And I'm gonna close this out with just with something that's happened in the news recently, is the cargo ship that got caught in the strait. So this they have this strait, right? It's one way in and one way out, and a cargo ship gets caught there. And so what it does is it slows down everything, right? And so many people got impacted from that. And then finally, when they freed it, the initial reaction is someone's going to pay for this, right? So who was driving it? Was this person inebriated? Like someone's going to pay for this. This is the problem, right? So this is the pound of flesh we're going to get. But I think what we really need to look at is our system. Like, is that the best system? Like, there's ways that we have to work on avoiding something like this from happening. So we had this pandemic and we had to close down our schools to students. Well, things are getting better. And instead of spending time pointing fingers and issuing blame and things like that, it really is time for us to focus on the future, to you know, there's new things that we've learned. There's things that we didn't think were possible that we've had to do during this pandemic. And I think that there's great hope for our students going forward. And I'm excited to be in this position to be able to lead those efforts. I'm excited to be able to work with this governing board in doing that. And I'm excited to be able to work with staff in providing the best possible education for all of our students. So I really just want to take this time that, you know, we need time to heal and we need time to, you know, reestablish ourselves as a premier district that is here for nothing else but to serve our students. So with that, I'll conclude my report. I don't know if I should put forward a you know, a call to the board to take a formal vote that we are opening schools for all students in the fall. I mean, we've said it over and over. I think all the board members are committed to it. I know our labor partners are committed to that. I know our parents want that. Well, a lot of our parents, because we did see half of our parents are still out doing full distance learning, and we don't know exactly why that is, but we're here to serve all students, and we are looking to open fully in the fall. And if a you know, if a vote by this board you know, would help, you know, some families have peace during these stressful times, then I put it on the table that you know, we take a vote that we open in the fall. And you know what? For the rest of spring and for summer and in the fall, we're still going to have to do the work. And that work is not stopping. But I think we're all committed to open it in the fall. And so I'll leave it up to the board on if you want to take any formal action. But I think you guys have been very clear with me, your direction that you've provided, that you want all of our students back. So again, thank you all, and I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Clark, for that comprehensive presentation that I think, as you said, really provides some of the details from the direction that we have been going all along. And so I think we can turn that into a motion. I would like to move that we approve the plan for fall 2021 to have 3 options for students. 1, full-time in-person 5 days a week. 2, the independent study, or 3, the virtual academy.
I'll second that.
Point of order.
Yes, Trustee Mayo.
Do we need to consult with Mr. Alvarado to determine whether or not a motion is in order because it wasn't on the agenda?
It says information or action.
Beg your pardon?
Under the update, it says info or action.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I did not see that.
No
I
problem.
apologize.
Thank you. And I was building that motion around the subject at hand, so I believe it's appropriate. All right, so we have a motion by Trustee Count and second by Trustee Mason. Is there any other discussion on this topic? Or on the motion, rather, we can have additional discussion.
Yeah. I think I have a question. Well, I think it's a question I should ask before we vote. On the 3 choices of what type of schooling a family has next year, I think you mentioned that someone could change mid-semester. I'm wondering if also there's a choice of unsure on the survey for, I'm not sure if I'm coming back, but is there a choice of unsure on yes, I'm coming back, but I'm not sure which choice? Because I've heard, like, it's not unique. I think we've all heard there's families who would come back if their children are vaccinated, but we don't know that today, if that will be, if they will be, or if it's a possibility yet. But they would return the moment their child is vaccinated. And so it may be that they can't come in August, they choose another option. They have to keep that option through the semester. But will there be on the survey that unsure because I want to for whatever reason, but because I want my child to be vaccinated.
Right. So great question. You know, the survey, and none of our surveys to this date, and we've been, I don't know, this is probably our third or fourth survey that we're going to put out. None of them have been binding, right? And so even the last survey we did, we still, you know, called and got verbals from folks, and still, you know, so they aren't binding surveys no matter what. This is just, again, for planning purposes. We're on, you know, what is the date? April 14th right now. We're looking at starting school in August. And so again, this is just for planning purposes. And so, you know, I think also, to your point, is we see how quickly things can change in terms of vaccinations. You know, like just 1 month ago, we were in the purple. We were, you know, the vaccination program was just getting rolling, just getting started. But, you know, so we fully intend for things to change. But anything that a family puts on their survey right now is not going to be binding. We're going to give folks time before we ask them to do that compact, and that's going to come later on. So I'm not really answering your question, but I'm just saying that it's not a binding survey at this point. It's
No,
just
I think
really-
that helps, and that takes pressure off of parents, because
Yeah.
that's when the stress came on the last survey. It's like, how are we supposed to know this now?
Right.
And people feel making this choice is hard, and that
Yeah,
they'd have to
yeah.
stick with it to the end. So I think it's good for folks to hear multiple times, multiple ways. That is to
Yeah.
help with planning. You can change your mind, especially
Right.
as the district has more information, as we as parents have more information, and the community has more information, and hopefully we just keep going in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good point. Thank you. Other questions or discussion, comments?
So would this vote simply be to provide more direction for staff, like to go ahead to like keep planning for a 5-day return? Because I'm assuming it has like this contract been negotiated with like our bargaining units, and whether like those conversations need to continue before like there is like an official promise. So what does this motion entail?
Right. So again, we you know, we already have a contract in place with all of our bargaining units for regular school. The reason why we had to do MOUs with all of our bargaining units is because we went to 100% distance learning. That was the model that we were providing. Going back to 5 days a week, full students is what we've always done. And so therefore, you only bargain when there's a change in working conditions. And if we're back 5 days a week with all students all day long, that's not a change in working conditions. So that's not to say that we're not still going to work with our labor partners. We are. But what this motion does, and what this vote does, it lets the public know, and lets our staff know, and lets our students know that we are committed to opening schools up in the fall, 5 days a week, all day for all students. And again, we all know that if a new variant comes in and changes everything, that the state of California can pivot and go in a different direction. But as a governance team, we are committed to 5 days a week instruction, and staff, we've been working on this and planning on this, and so that's already the direction that we're taking. But this just again reassures the public and staff that this is where we're headed.
Exactly. Well said. Thank you. All right. Any other comments? Okay, we'll take that to a vote. We'll start with Trustee Alas.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Yes.
Trustee Mayo.
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi.
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much, Dr. Clark, for that presentation and clarity. And thank you, board, for, I think, you know, sometimes people think about this as there's the board, and then separately there's a superintendent, and then separately there are the bargaining units. You know, we are we're a leadership team that works together. We're, you know, so ideally we are not these separate entities that aren't communicating, right? That's why sometimes it appears that the board is not taking more action on something. It's because we're already in agreement. We've already been working as a team with our superintendent and with the district leadership. And so there we go. So we wanted to, though, make that motion, as Dr. Clark said, to make it even clearer that this is where the board stands as well. All right. So any other discussion aside from that motion on Dr. Clark's presentation or any of the other details provided there?
I have one question. Is there a way to, first of all, thank you, Dr. Clark, for the presentation. I was wondering if there's a way for to gauge how students are faring. I mean, we've only been in hybrid for a couple days, and I know, like, from what we're seeing, the pictures on social media and anecdotes from students and teachers, it's all been great. But really, as we get deeper into hybrid learning and closer to the end of the year, how students are actually faring and getting a better pulse of how beneficial this is to students and how it can potentially be improved.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. That's something that I can, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I have a meeting with all the principals and all of our management and leadership, and I can, and ask them how they think would be a good way to get this information, or ways that they could find that information to share with this board or share with the public or whatnot on how students who are participating in hybrid, are faring. I just know that one thing I always want to be very cautious of is that half of our students are at home and not even coming to campus. And so, I don't want to leave them out as well. And so I just want to make sure that we're being inclusive for all of our students. But I will ask the principals and vice principals and admin how they could assist us in getting that information.
Thank you. Yes, I think that's a really good point. When the plan was made for hybrid, one of the important pieces that I think our district did was to make sure that afternoon time was available for the same types of resources, intervention, tutoring, social emotional, for our distance learning students as well as our in-person students. So I think if we want to look at how students are doing, we could still look at how all of our students are doing, not just the ones who are coming in person. And maybe we can look at some of the data that like that you had provided back in the fall, and then look at it now in terms of absenteeism, how many students are participating, whether it's in whichever way, how is that looking? And how many students are, passing their classes, not getting D's or F's, that kind of thing. And then also looking at, I know one of the focuses from the state and with our new LCAP is to look at specific populations of students. And so being able to break it down that way, I think would be really important as well, especially as we do our planning into the future for summer and fall, and our 3-year LCAP plan for how to serve those students.
Thank you. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Trustee McFerrin.
I just have a comment. That was a really, really comprehensive presentation, Dr. Clark. And I just wanted to just briefly just acknowledge that I think there's a lot of kind of anxiety around the word plan and planning. And I think in our community, we have in our community and in probably every community that I'm familiar with, there's been kind of an uptick in kind of interest in what's going on in school boards and in school board meetings. And so I think it's important, as a teacher, and just knowing this and knowing that not everyone knows this, that that this word planning, we're always, at this time of year, we're always planning for the following school year. We're planning things like staffing, master schedules, which is especially at the middle school and high school level are an incredible beast to put together. We're planning, facilities and how to improve our facilities over the summers to welcome students to return. And so I just wanted to mention that we're always planning at this time of year. And so I know that that word has caused people a lot of strife, but that's normal for this time of year. And then I also just wanted to, just about the virtual academy, I really hope that we can put a lot of efforts toward that, because we know how to do regular in-person school. We're just returning to what we already know how to do so well. And so I just hope that just for equity's sake and for those students who really cannot return to school for medical reasons for themselves or their family, I just really want us to make sure that we're serving the needs of those students the best that we can. And that's all. I'm very, very excited to like return to normalcy. And so I definitely don't want, I don't want anyone to misunderstand that, you know, about me. And I do also want to report just my firsthand knowledge, because I teach sophomores and seniors, that I've had in the past couple of weeks. I've had so many students tell me they're not going to make it to class because they're getting vaccinated, which is, in my opinion, the best reason to miss class. So I've been very glad to not see those students while they're getting vaccinated. So I just think that's really positive news for our community, and I'm so excited to see us moving in this direction. So that's all I really wanted to share.
No, and I just so briefly, I want to just respond to what you said about the virtual academy. Although there is little guidance from the state on that, I know for equity purposes that independent study is not for everybody, and so to have the only option for students who aren't coming in face to face for it to be independent study, I don't think that is fair, and I don't think that is. We've learned too much, and we have invested too much in our distance learning program. And although there are some that say it's not working for them, I can respect that and understand that, but there are some who have thrived in this environment. And I think there's really some key tenets and components that we can build off of to make a sustainable program for those who it's something that they need, that their students need to learn and to access the curriculum. And so we are going to, you know, invest a considerable amount of time and resources into making sure that this is a robust program and that it does meet the needs of the students who participate, regardless of the state guidance that we're still waiting on. We're not going to wait. I mean, we're going to move forward and then just adjust as needed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and just to build off of that, I think that in future board meetings we'll see, you know, more of a description of what virtual academy is looking like. Similarly, I think it would be great to have a presentation on what summer school is going to look like, and I wonder if you will need to also do a parent survey there of who's, or maybe it's just the direct signups for what the various summer options are, because I know last summer was very, very limited, and even the summer before that, due to budget cuts, was very limited. But I know this year we are planning much more extensive summer options, and one of the highlights of our summer options in prior years was the robotics and technology camps that we had. One of them was specifically for girls that I know Shauna Hawes and others have run. And so I'm very curious as to whether those are going to come back this summer and what other summer opportunities there are. I know you might not have the answer to that today.
No, what? So just to say, I do have the answers. I'm not going to share them right now because we're doing a presentation at the next meeting. But I just, let me just lay this out just real quick. Is that I build the agenda for the board, and then I work with President Count and Vice President Mason on the agenda. So this is the board's business meeting. This meeting that we're doing now. This isn't a public relations meeting, or this isn't a meeting to put out information. We have other avenues for putting out information, and staff works all day, every day on these issues. And right now we're working on serving 29,000 students in our district each and every day, and they need our full full attention. So just because something doesn't necessarily show up on a board agenda or as a board presentation, it does not mean that it's not happening. We've been planning for summer school for months, and we're actually going to have a very robust program, you know, for summer school. And I think you guys are going to be pleased when you hear about the efforts that have taken place with summer school. So just because that hasn't come to the board, I don't want you to think that work isn't getting done. And again, with you know, with the activities that are taking place on our campuses, with our athletics that are going on, with, you know, the different extracurricular activities that are happening, like things are happening throughout this district. I mean, just being able to see the presentation earlier on the CARES program, like there's so many things that are happening that don't necessarily come to the board. And just because, you know, the board's not hearing a presentation or voting on a direct action, it doesn't mean these things aren't happening. We have, you know, close to 4,000 employees that are serving kids each and every day, and there's no possible way we can bring all that information to the board. But what I will promise you as we go forward from this meeting forward is we will be discussing academics and students from here on out. So so that is something that definitely will be on the agenda each and every meeting, is some sort of update or some sort of document or included in some report on student progress, on curriculum, on instruction, on data surrounding our students. So I do commit that to this board to do that and bring that forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in relation to summer school, the key for a board meeting presentation would be, are there any decisions that the board can make that would help support the plans for summer school? If there's any limitations that you find in the process of planning, and there's an action that we can take that will help ensure that we can serve more students this summer, that's absolutely what we're interested in doing. All right.
Right.
Thank you. Any other questions on this? All right, thank you so much, Dr. Clark. All right. Okay.
This is supposed to be a short meeting, and here we are at
We're close. We're
we're
close.
passing the 9 o'clock hour. What's going on here?
Consent agenda. We're here to the consent agenda, 13.0. All right. Items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. Trustees, any items to remove or a motion to approve?
Madam President, can you advise the public the change around item 13.8, please?
Item 13.8. Dr. Clark, would you like to provide that?
Sure.
The latest
I-
update that was made on the docket. Is that what you're talking about? Trustee
Yeah.
Mayo? Yes.
Yeah, so on 13.8, we had a paving project that was completed, and one of the schools that received some additional or a fresh covering of asphalt was left off, and that has since been corrected, and so that is included on item 13.8.
And it was the school site Bel Air, correct?
Bel Air, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Mayo.
And the reason that was important is because there's a record for completion that is a public document that has to be, it's a testament that the contractor has completed the work. So it was important to include that as part of the job in that document. So thank you for making that change.
Thank you very much, Trustee Mayo, for your detailed notice of these things. Okay, any items to pull from the consent agenda at this point?
I'll make a motion, we accept it as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Trustee Mason, second by Trustee Mayo. Any discussion, or there wouldn't be discussion on that. We'll move it to a vote. Trustee Alas?
Yes.
Trustee Mason?
Yes.
Trustee Mayo?
Yes.
Trustee Nzewi?
Yes.
Trustee McFerrin?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. That was the consent. No items pulled, no carryover closed session. All right, last thing, future agenda items, 18.1. Anyone have future agenda items?
I'd love to hear about, or may I go? I'd love to hear about, gosh, now I can't, well, I'd love to hear about how the tutoring app for ELL students is going. Yeah, I'd just like an update on how that is going and how that's working, because it seemed like such a great opportunity, a great thing that would benefit all students. And that's another possible one-time expenditure that we could consider for all students.
All right, thank you, Trustee Ansari. Okay. All right, I did have one more, which is AB 988 was introduced by our Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer-Cahan of District 16, and it's called the Miles Hall Lifeline Act. It creates a new 3-digit phone line, 988, for suicide prevention and immediate localized emergency response for individuals in mental health crisis by trained mental health professionals. And so I am interested in us submitting a letter of support for this bill. So we'd like to propose that as a future agenda item if other trustees are interested. I believe that's it. Any others? Okay. All right. 19.1, we adjourn at 9:22 p.m.